harmful medications, and surgery. Call my guys at QC Kinetics. QC Kinetics specializes in biologic therapies that can repair and restore damaged tissue. I'm talking about natural pain treatments now available, not just for pro athletes, but to people like you.
At QC Kinetics, we're seeing patients every day who suffer from chronic joint pain but who desperately wanted to avoid surgery. We're treating joint pain with biologic therapies, regenerative solutions with long-lasting results.
Listen, it's all about getting your life back. Playing touch football with kids, walking upstairs pain-free, getting back on a job, and patients at QC Kinetics are raving about the results.
QC Kinetics. Call to learn more about restorative treatments that can get you back in the game.
Call QC Kinetics, 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955.
Are your file cabinets stuffed with work orders, invoices, bills of lading, medical records, and or compliance papers? There's a solution to clear the clutter by converting your documents into accessible digital form with the help of IDT. They can scan your documents for you or provide you with the technology to transform your workspace with easy and innovative IoT smart connected scanning technology. IoT smart connected scanning not only captures your information, it connects your documents directly to your existing digital systems, ensuring seamless integration and immediate access. Plus, it works with your existing Microsoft Office 365 technology. Convert those physical files into secure, searchable, easy-to-find digital formats. Goodbye, paper chaos. Hello, streamlined, secure digital environment. Visit ready4idt.com. That's ready, the number 4idt.com. IDT, putting paper in its place.
Hi, this is Maria and Diane with the Del Bacchio Marchetti Group of App Properties Christie's International. We wanted to tell you why we placed number 9 in Illinois as the top producing real estate team and number 1 in Arlington Heights.
In the past 9 years, we assisted 1,975 buyers and sellers achieve the American dream of home ownership, selling $720 million in real estate.
If you are considering making a move, we can help you get the most value for your home in today's market.
Maria and I have over 50 years of combined experience. We take a conservative approach in protecting your asset and will give you the direction and professional advice needed to achieve a successful transaction.
Our pledge to you is to have your best interest at heart. So get the special attention you deserve with our white glove service from our city division to the suburbs.
Contact us for a free, no-obligation market analysis at thedmregroup.com. That's thedmregroup.com.
Information verification, MRED LLC, 2013 to 2022. Real Trends Large Teams 2022.
If you own or run a business and you listen to AM 560, you might not realize that the conservative programming that you enjoy is supported by advertisers. Our loyal listeners love to do business with the advertisers they hear every day on AM 560. Now, it probably won't surprise you that there are some businesses who avoid advertising with us because they don't like what we do here. And that's okay, because our audience wants to support businesses that support what we do and think like we think. We would love to have you join the list of successful companies who are already reaching new, like-minded customers. Most AM 560 advertisers have been here for years for one simple reason: they get results. Join our efforts to make a difference in the lives of our listeners who are passionate about supporting our great family of AM 560 advertisers. To learn more, just visit 560theanswer.com/advertise. That's 560theanswer.com/advertise.
When you're hiring for your business, ZipRecruiter's powerful matching technology makes finding qualified candidates for your job easy. This made us wonder, what if the rest of the world was as easy as ZipRecruiter? Math problems wouldn't be so problematic.
K equals 42.
Escape rooms? Elementary. And summiting Everest would be a walk in the park. In the meantime, if you want to make your hiring easier, use ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Simple. So, see what the world is like when ZipRecruiter does the hard work of hiring for you. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/free to try ZipRecruiter for free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So Matt Gaetz out, Pam Bondi in as Trump's nominee for Attorney General. The former two-term Attorney General of the state of Florida has replaced Matt Gaetz as Trump's nominee. Your reaction to Gaetz deciding, that's the story, to drop out amid the controversy, around the controversy that swirled around him. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line and text line. Gaetz tweeting out or Xing out yesterday. I had excellent meetings with senators yesterday. I appreciate their thoughtful feedback and the incredible support of so many. While the momentum was strong, it is clear that my confirmation was unfairly becoming a distraction to the critical work of the Trump-Vance transition. There is no time to waste on a needlessly protracted Washington scuffle. Thus, I'll be withdrawing my name from consideration to serve as Attorney General. Trump's DOJ must be in place and ready on day one. I remain fully committed to see that Donald J. Trump is the most successful president. I'll be forever honored, and so on and so forth. J.D. Vance tweeting out, I'm extremely grateful for the work Matt put into the nomination process. He made his decision to withdraw entirely out of respect for President Trump's administration. Matt is a patriot, and I look forward to seeing what he does next.
Ooh, and the thing is, too, what will he do next? 312-642-5600. Dan, can he get his congressional seat back? Or is that... if he wants it, I mean, is that possible?
I mean, he can run like anybody else.
Okay,
yeah.
But he can't withdraw his resignation from Congress or take it back. You know what I'm saying? I don't know how it works, so I'm just wondering.
I think that he formally formally resigned as a member of Congress and triggered the governor, who was in the process of setting a special election date. So he can always re-up and run in a special election for the seat that he vacated. But I think where the process is now is that he is out as a member of Congress. But before we get to Gaetz's political future, if there is one, I mean, the reaction to Gaetz being nominated and everyone preparing for a pitched battle, and then a week later, Gaetz pulling out. I mean, we said when he was nominated, a surprise nomination, that one would expect that the Trump team and the president had considered the DOJ investigation, had sort of game planned and assessed what it would take to get him through, and had made the decision that it was worth the obvious fight that would be to come. And then a week later, he's gone. I mean, it strikes me as an example, apparently, of Trump's impetuousness, or they vastly underestimated what the left would do in response to Gaetz and some resistance you would get on within the Republican ranks too, the establishment Republican ranks to this. I mean, this couldn't have come as a surprise to anybody who's been even paying passing attention. So I'm sure it wasn't a surprise, the reactions to Trump and his team, which just makes the whole decision to level him up in the first place curious.
Well, were they testing the system? Because I kept reading all these conspiracy theories that, he was doing this to find out, to fish out who was going to be loyal to Trump, excuse me, because 4 Republican senators would allegedly not confirm him: McConnell, Murkowski, Collins, and my guy from Utah, John Curtis. So they're saying, that this is just finding out who's going to be loyal to the president.
That's idiotic. That's not the way you do that. Number one. Number two, it's a weekend. John Curtis, who replaced Romney. You don't think you can put pressure on these guys? You don't think you can put pressure on Thune to put pressure on those guys? Especially a newbie like Curtis. Committee assignments, support for re-election, rallies in your home state. I mean, my point is to say this had to be anticipated, that it would be close. We need to get to 50. We've got 53. And so what are we willing to do if we need to push 1 or 2 to get to the 50 that we need? That had to be a thought process. That had to be a conversation. That this is not a good look for the Trump administration. This is not a good look for Trump. As I said, it speaks to flying by the seat of your pants and not running the traps. One of the lessons I thought we were confident he had learned from the first go-around.
You know who's not surprised? John Fetterman.
Package dropping out.
Holy shit! I didn't see that coming.
Oh.
I mean, yes, he was the ultimate troll, and people have the opportunity. They can freak out over things and respond. And if you want to do that, you don't have to. You better pace yourself, though, because it's not even Thanksgiving, and we don't have to react and take unserious things so seriously that the world's going to spin off its axis the way it is right now. But I just heard something. I heard that Trump is going to issue a new silver dollar to commemorate that. So I think that's going to be the next cycle.
That's 24 seconds of my life I can't get back. Senator Slingblade is a troll. He's irrelevant. Jerry and Gurnee.
Hi, Dan. Hi, Amy. Good morning. Thanks for taking my call. It's starting already. These yellow-bellied, spineless Republicans. Okay, why do the Democrats all stick together, even when they're not in the majority, when it comes to their nominees? They all vote what their party leader tells them, yet we gave these Republicans a mandate, we gave these Republicans the majority, and yet they stab us in the back, right? 4 senators are bucking the system. So now are those 4 Republicans going to be primaried when they're up for their next reelection? Because these Republicans are yellow-bellied, lily-livered, spineless scum when they're doing this.
Well, McConnell's gone.
Thanks for the call, Jerry. Maybe, but maybe that's all true. But the point is that was a known quantity going in.
Right.
No one can be surprised that Murkowski and Collins were going to be resistant. No one could be surprised that McConnell would be, frankly, as a lame duck. And, John Curtis may be a surprise, but there were others that I'm sure were wobbly. So, and you had to know that going in. So let's also, measure Trump's judgment on this one too, because that's fair game. I mean, I know we're still in the thralls of enthrallment, given what happened on November 5th, and I agree. But I mean, this is the for Attorney General of the United States, your nominee, you got to measure twice and cut once. And it doesn't seem like that happened here. And it's surprising. And it becomes amid another surprise, which apparently, if you believe the reporting, that they were blindsided by Pete Hegseth's settlement of that sexual assault allegation from 2017.
No, who's vetting these people?
So how does that not come up in a conversation? How does that not come up in a cursory background check? John, Southside. Hey, John.
John,
how are you? Good morning.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Do you feel like Trump asked him to step down?
Perhaps.
And, you know what I mean? Just seems odd.
Well,
after that third story came out, that didn't
Thanks
seem odd to me. I mean, having a threesome with a 17-year-old, which you could do whatever you. I know people make mistakes. I know, he may have hired prostitutes back in 2017 and kept them with him for 2 years, but then you have throwing a 17-year-old, and that's illegal. He should have known that. End of story.
Well, that's an allegation. It's an allegation the Department of Justice didn't act upon, so that's all that it is. And that's not the point. The point is you had to know that whatever was in that House Ethics report was going to come out formally or informally. So that had to be part of the calculus. I mean, these are the people around Trump, including Trump himself at this stage. They're not political neophytes. You think that the all the swirl around Gates during the DOJ investigation and the House Ethics investigation on top, they're Democrats on that committee that's just in. You think it's not going to come out? Of course it's going to come out.
Right.
So that had to be part of the calculating. Craig in Mount Greenwood.
Oh, hey. Good morning, Dan and Amy, and thank you much for taking my call. Hey, my thought on this is, get yourself a nice big box of popcorn, kick back and make, and that'll go nice with the lemonade because Trump has got this thing about like turning lemons into lemonade all the time. It's like whatever it is, whether it's a lucky, he's got a horseshoe up his butt or whatever, it's smart and he just, it's a crazy kind of thing the way things work out. And I'm real anxious to see how it all pans out because it's probably going to be something that we'll probably smile at or think it's good. Do you think that's?
I mean, maybe. Thanks for the call. I mean, perhaps, but this isn't something I would suggest is a operating procedure you want to replicate. I mean, this is not an approach that should be celebrated. I don't think. I don't think this casts Trump in a good light or inspires additional confidence in the administration. I mean, it's not some sort of fatal blow either. I'm not overstating the case, but it's just this pick, knowing what the reaction it would generate, and then for a week later to have to cut bait. It's a bad look. You can spin it any way you want. It's a bad look.
Yeah.
Coming up at 5:38, we'll fold in the person he nominated to replace Gates, Pam Bondi. We should talk a little bit about her as well. At 5:38, we will.
Dan, is there any chance he could be Senator Matt Gaetz? We'll discuss. But now let's head into the newsroom. Here's Scott.
5:31 on AM 560, The Answer. As you've been talking about with Dan and Amy this morning, President-elect Trump wasted little time in announcing his new pick for Attorney General after Matt Gaetz withdrew his nomination Thursday. Trump choosing former Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi for that position, saying in a post on Truth Social that she will refocus the DOJ. Missouri Senator Josh Hawley tells Fox Bondi will bring reform in a big way.
We need to overhaul DOJ and the FBI, and I think Pam Bondi will be up for that task, and I hope that she will pledge right now to work with Congress to lay it all out. Let the truth be known, to get it all out there, and let's overhaul these agencies.
Bondi served on President-elect Trump's Opioid and Drug Commission during his first term. President Biden believes the unaccountable International Criminal Court's arrest warrant for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is outrageous. The ICC issued a warrant Thursday for Netanyahu and his former defense secretary, accusing them of war crimes. Texas Governor Greg Abbott says more giant buoys are going into the Rio Grande. The state installed the floating border barrier last year in order to deter illegal river crossings. 6 injured in an early morning apartment fire in the 4300 block of West Thomas in the city of Chicago. There was a late evening fire that saw several West suburban fire departments rush to the scene of a blaze that severely damaged a dwelling in St. Charles. Investigators with the Fox River Fire Rescue District say one person was killed in the fire that broke out around 8 p.m., and the home was fully engulfed when firefighters arrived. The Illinois Supreme Court is overturning Jesse Smollett's disorderly conduct conviction. State's High Court ruling a special prosecutor's decision to retry the former actor over allegations he staged a hate crime against himself, violated his rights. Cook County State's Attorney Kim Fox had originally dismissed that case in a highly controversial agreement, and yesterday the lame duck state's attorney gave her opinion after the court ruled.
What's important to note is Dan Webb knew all along that this was not a legitimate prosecution. So I'm grateful that the court has finally put this to rest and that the city and the county can move on from this. But it was an expensive lesson to learn and one that was unnecessary.
Smollett was convicted of disorderly conduct in December of 2021 for lying to Chicago police about the 2019 phony attack in the city of Chicago. A pair of Jewish DePaul students who were victims of an anti-Semitic attack earlier this month on campus are demanding changes in security in Lincoln Park. During a rally yesterday, Max Long and Michael Kaminsky called on the school to do more to protect Jewish students.
In front of a DePaul public safety officer,
Max and I were blindsided and ambushed by two individuals wearing ski masks. While I jumped in to try and fend off the attackers, the public safety officer who was employed by the university decided not to act.
An investigation is underway this morning after a shooting at a Vernon Hills shopping center. The shooting happened at the Hawthorne Hills Square Shopping Center just before 7 p.m. And the Cook County Board approves a new budget for 2025. The board approving a $9.94 billion spending plan on a 16-1 vote. The budget includes a targeted $15 million homeowner relief fund to help a few people struggling to pay Cook County's overinflated property tax bills. Blackhawks beat the Florida Panthers 3-1 at the United Center. They're at the Flyers tomorrow. Bulls take on the Hawks tonight. College hoops, the number 20 Fighting Illini look to get back in the win column when they host Maryland Eastern Shore tomorrow. Yesterday, UIC lost to James Madison. Valparaiso a win over Lindenwood. Today, Notre Dame and Elon, Northwestern and Pepperdine. UIC is at LaSalle. The news, a service of Trimlight Chicago. Don't let hanging holiday lights get you in a Scrooge mood. 'Tis the season to save time, money, and energy with permanent, programmable holiday lighting for your home. Get your free quote today at trimlight-chicago.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Make sure that you never miss a day of Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson when you subscribe to the Chicago's Morning Answer podcast, presented by Signature Bank. Listen to the entire show each day on demand with limited commercial breaks. You can subscribe today for free at 560theanswer.com and click on podcasts or search for Chicago's Morning Answer on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Amy Jacobson and Dan Proft here, and we want to tell you about our 2024 Food for the Poor campaign.
If you've listened to the station and to our show for any length of time, then you already know about Food for the Poor. They're a nonprofit, faith-based organization that provides food, water, medicine, clothing, and life-saving supplies directly to local partners in Latin America and the Caribbean.
We all know how bad the situation is right now in Latin America and the Caribbean.
For many families, the cost of food has simply become prohibitive, leading to sickness and starvation.
The only thing standing between these families and starvation is Food for the Poor. But in order to get this food to those who need it most, Food for the Poor needs your help. Your one-time gift of just $50 can provide life-saving food for a child for an entire year and provide their community with access to water.
To give a gift of any amount, just call 844-862-4673. That's 844-862-4673.
Or you can visit 560theanswer.com/foodforthepoor or just click on the Give Life banner.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. Your business and your money are in good hands with Signature Bank. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Jason Zenger, owner of Zenger's Industrial Supply and host of the Making Chips podcast, and a proud customer of Signature Bank. Through rapid growth, acquisitions of competitors, and taking over from the previous generation, Signature Bank was there with us every step of the way. Recently, the team introduced us to FinRails AP, their proprietary system for accounts payable automation. Not only did FinRails AP help us to reduce costs and create efficiencies, but it also helped minimize fraud risk. Now, our company can invest time into what we do best, supplying industrial products, metalworking tooling, contractor tools, and safety supplies to those who make, build, and create great things for our country.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Let Signature Bank turn your business vision into reality. Visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
It's Uncle Sam, and he wants some of your retirement money. Like it or not, you're going to owe taxes on your 401k. The good news is you may be able to reduce your tax bill with some strategic planning. Scott Tucker and the team at Scott Tucker Solutions are here to help. You'll work together to craft a plan that's designed to help make sure you don't pay a penny more than you should. Taxes are historically low right now, and we all know they probably won't remain this low forever, so call Scott Tucker and the Scott Tucker Solutions team before this tax-saving opportunity is gone. 847-474-3888 or go to 560retirement.com. It's time to preserve the retirement you deserve without giving more than necessary to your favorite uncle. Call Scott Tucker and the team at Scott Tucker Solutions now to schedule your 401k tax review. 847-474-3888 or go to 560retirement.com. Investment advisory services made available through AE Wealth Management, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Firm does not give tax advice.
Is thinning hair or a receding hairline making you self-conscious? Try Hair Grow from New Nordic. Stop feeling embarrassed about thinning hair and start feeling your best with Hair Grow.
540 on AM 560, The Answer. Let's get an update on the roads in our Team Hochberg Traffic Center. And this update is a service of almostfreeteeth.com. If you have medical PPO insurance, find out how you could save 90% off on average to get your smile back. Check if you qualify at almostfreeteeth.com. Just a couple of trouble spots. Kennedy, inbound, disabled vehicle, left lane blocked. Inbound at Division, it will cost you a few minutes. Stevenson inbound, already jamming up Ashland into the Dan Ryan merge. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now your official Chicagoland weather forecast. Mostly cloudy, breezy, and milder. A high of 46. Low clouds overnight, low 38. It's 40 right now. Next news at 6. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is sponsored by TJ Stearns Financial Planning. Certified financial planner Tim Stearns holds a weekly discussion of the financial challenges to secure retirement. Listen Saturday at noon for Protect and Grow with Tim Stearns.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy talking about the AG switcheroo, Gates out, Pam Bondi, the former Florida Attorney General, in. Trump announcing Bondi's nomination with all due speed after the news came out that Gates had stepped aside. I'm proud to announce former AG of the great state of Florida, Pam Bondi, as our next Attorney General. Prosecutor for nearly 20 years, she was tough on violent criminals, made the streets safe for Florida families. Then, as Florida's first female AG, she worked to stop the trafficking of deadly drugs and reduce the tragedy of fentanyl overdose deaths, which have destroyed many families. She did such an incredible job, I asked her to serve on our Opioid and Drug Abuse Commission during my first term. We saved many lives. And, just goes on to promote her credentials and so forth. This should be a relatively uncontroversial pick, so we should go from maximum drama to very little drama, just on the point of what she did in the state of Florida, some of what Trump referenced there. A little flavor of Pam Bondi. This was her at a presser when she was AG with none other than the infamous sheriff of Polk County, Florida, Grady Judd, whose offerings we've played on this show many times. On the occasion of busting up an illegal drug trafficking ring.
These criminals made one very big mistake. They wound up in Polk County. And I'll tell you, it's bad enough in one thing to profit from poisoning others, but it's another when you bring drugs from Mexico into our country, California, Texas, Georgia, and end up in our state and do it with impunity. Because when you're in this country illegally and you're doing things illegally, I want to tell you, and you wind up in Polk County, Grady Judd is going to find you, the DEA is going to help them, and my statewide prosecutors are going to lock you up for as long as we can.
And we're going to enjoy it.
And each of these defendants are looking at 30 years in Florida State Prison for conspiracy to traffic drugs.
Yeah, so she's pretty serious. I mean, she's going to get hit from the left as, will you be the Attorney General for the people, or Trump's personal Attorney General because of her longstanding relationship, his support of her candidacies in the past. She's also, she was with the same lobbying firm that Susie Wiles, his chief of staff, was with. And she was a registered Florida agent. She lobbied on behalf of the government of Qatar which will probably generate some questions. According to the disclosure forms, it was in the interest of anti-human trafficking, but I'm sure she'll be queried about those things. But she's pretty seasoned. I think she'll stand up to scrutiny, and I think this will move along without much controversy. And some on the left think that, too. They're not too happy about it. They were looking forward to Matt Gaetz. Jason Johnson, one of those MSNBC flacks, a assistant poli-sci professor at Morgan State. Of course he is. Jason Johnson on Bondi.
Pam Bondi is exactly what I was saying in the last segment that we should all fear, because she's competent. We may not agree with her ideologically, but she actually knows how to do this job. So if anyone on the Democratic side or anyone who cared about liberty or justice was thinking, well, maybe Matt Gaetz will screw this up and that'll give us some time. No, Pam Bondi knows what she's doing. She knows what she's doing about immigration. Remember, Florida is one of those states that's been very aggressive about migrants and deportation and moving people to different states and everything else like that. Florida has enacted all sorts of rules and laws to curtail students and what they can do on campuses and finding legal justifications for manipulating education money. She is a dangerous and effective pick, and that's frankly worse than what we would have got with Matt Gaetz, even with the deplorable moral background that he has.
Oh, my God. Can you help me process that, Dan? So she's accomplished. She can do the job. She's going to be tough on immigration, and it's a bad thing?
Well, those are positions that he doesn't support. That's the obvious point, that the left doesn't support. Ellie Honig, who is the legal analyst for CNN, had basically said the same thing without all the leftist histrionics.
Pam Bondi is, without a question, qualified to be Attorney General. She's been a prosecutor for 20 years in Florida. For 8 of those, she was the Attorney General of the state. That's a very big, very complicated job, and that level of experience is on par with or better than most United States Attorneys General that we've seen over the past 50 years or so.
So Pam Bondi, Florida replaces Florida, since it seems like the angle of the Trump administration is to make America Florida, which is a pretty good idea, actually. I think you're going to like it. Bob in Countryside, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hi, I was just calling to say the age of consent in Illinois is 17. Had he done all of his shenanigans in Illinois, he would have been probably Attorney General by now. Kind of makes you wonder about our politicians. They ought to do a background check and see who the politicians are that voted for age of consent in Illinois for 17. That's all I got.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Bob. Well, just on that point, there was more allegations in against Gaetz in that House Ethics Committee report than just the salacious details of alleged prostitutes and alleged underage girl. Kim Strassel has a good piece on this in the Wall Street Journal. The House Ethics investigation was included a long list of allegations against Gaetz, including, and this is from a committee statement back in June, sexual misconduct and/or illicit drug use, sharing inappropriate images or videos on the House floor, misuse of state identification records, conversion of campaign funds for personal use and/or accepted a bribe, improper gratuity, or a impermissible gift. Now, allegations are allegations, and Gaetz is an easy target for allegations because he was reviled by so many, including many of his caucus mates. So I'm not saying that any of those things are true. Those are the allegations, and since we don't have the House Ethics report, we really don't have a full sense of the evidentiary support for any or all of those allegations. My only point, and Strassel makes the point as well, is how do you not have, on the Trump transition team, the president himself, how do you not have a full understanding of what the evidence is, the risk assessment that was done before you move forward with a pick that is going to generate a firestorm of controversy? It's just, it's sloppy.
Yeah.
And we saw a lot of sloppiness from Trump in term one, and that was chalked up to inexperience. And we've seen a lot of good picks. So there's a lot of evidence that a lot has been learned from Trump 1 to Trump 2. I'm just saying there still, it seems to me, is that sort of impetuous feature of Trump's personality. And I get it. You know, he's a 78-year-old dude. You're not going to change him. There's going to be that element there, and you got to temper it. And everybody's going to make bad judgment calls. So I'm not hysterical about it. It's just, let's just call it for what it is. Let's just, be straightforward about it. This is not his finest moment this last week leading up to yesterday. But to our friend Craig from Mount Greenwood's point, I think, it will recede into the past relatively quickly. You'll move forward with Pam Bondi. She'll get confirmed fairly easily, I suspect, unless there's something
in her past. I don't think so.
Unless there's something we don't know. But remember, she stood for election twice in the state of Florida in, I wouldn't say competitive elections, but they were challenged elections. So there's a lot of vetting that's gone on for her, and so we move on.
Well, I have a lot of text messages. Dan, can you please answer the question? Do you think Gates will become Senator Gates?
No, I don't. First of all, I don't think DeSantis is going to appoint him. Secondly, that appointment is going to be short-lived because I think DeSantis does it. I think DeSantis sort of is resisting playing favorites here. I think he wants special elections and the voters to decide. Now, he can't do that. He can't wait for the special election to fill the Senate seat or the congressional seats because you've got confirmation hearings and you can't have empty seats. You've got such a slim majority in the House, and you got 53 Republican senators. But as we saw, when a couple of them are AWOL,
what can happen?
Bad things can happen. So you need to have somebody at least backfill. And maybe what he'll do is say he'll appoint somebody who agrees to be the interim senator and is not going to run in the special. So he just takes that business out of it. I've seen that done before. This guy I'm going to appoint, he or she's only going to serve until the special election. Then whoever wins the special election will be the senator. I can see him doing something like that, but he has to move on those seats. I don't think Gates is on the short list for that appointment, or would frankly want that appointment if he does what I'm suggesting he could do. But in addition to that, I mean, I don't know how Florida is going to review this, but I mean, this is not like a springboard to, being governor or senator. And by the way, in Florida, there's a lot of Republican office holders and a lot of talented ones. And, there's going to be a lot of competition. I know, for example, Byron Donalds, also a MAGA favorite, is likely to run for governor to follow Ron DeSantis. And so would Gates challenge him? I don't know. Would Gates run for Senate? I don't know. Would Gates just relax and chill out and enjoy his money? I don't know. But it's not going to be a walk for Gates in any office in the state of Florida, I'll tell you that, statewide.
What about Pete Hegseth? I mean, I read the 24-page police report. I think there's surveillance video of them. She's arm in arm with him when they're walking from the bar to the pool area and then from the pool area to someone's room. And she waited 4 days to go to get a rape kit. And I think people should also, she's married. So she said, Pete said, well, she was saying no a lot, but I was kind of buzzed. But then she said yes. I mean, the whole report's a hot mess, but I think he's going to be fine. But is there something wrong with me, Dan, that I think that he's going to be able to survive this?
Well, based on the responses from within Republican ranks, it sounds like it at this point. But I think you're going to see what the left is going to turn the sights they had on Matt Gaetz onto Pete Hegseth and just try to muddy him up as much as possible to try to sort of use him as a caricature of the entire Trump cabinet, as you've been hearing. Oh, the cabinet is full of sexual predators and so on and so forth. That's what they're going to do, just trying to slime everybody by association. And now Hegseth will get more of the fire because Gates is removed. But yeah, I don't see at this point Hegseth not getting confirmed. But let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. This NYU professor on where else? MSNBC. We watch it just out of sympathy because so few people do anymore. This is her give you an example of what you're going to be treated to, and in the run up to Hegseth's confirmation and after, I'm sure.
Well, as somebody who a third of my book is about military coups and what happens to militaries with authoritarian leaders, You know, Hegseth was a logical choice for those who would like to see a more politicized military.
Right.
Again, they are considering doing this groundbreaking, unprecedented thing of using the U.S. military for domestic repression, domestic operations. And it's important that Hegseth has tattoos that are linked to far-right extremism. And we know, of course, the military is a strictly nonpartisan institution. And it's also interesting that he was making videos selling grenade soap. He was selling ammo. Now, of course, the U.S. military uses government-issued ammo. He was selling something, not a handgun someone might keep around the house to defend. He was selling something for grenades, military-level, weapons. And who buys those? Who's not in the military? Militias, people like that. Extremists buy those things, military-level weapons, and they're not in the military. So, Hegseth could be, for those who want to radicalize the military and politicize it, he could be a bridge. Because of his views. And that's very, very dangerous. And I am not saying the military would go along with it, but this nomination forces us to pose that question.
He sold soap in the shape of a grenade.
I know.
He's an extremist.
She's out of her mind.
He's going to turn the Department of Defense and the armed forces into some sort of militia organization that will take over the world or take over the country and impose fascism and so on and so forth. I mean, this is the silliness. And, of course, where else are you going to get silliness like this at that level other than academia? But, I mean, this is the sort of ridiculousness, the tattoos and the grenade soap, in addition to all the salacious details about that affair in 2017. That's what you're going to get.
He was divorced at the time, and she was married, so she was a little panicked.
George in Naperville.
Yes, maybe that stopover Trump had with Biden dulled his senses.
All right, George. Russ in Crystal Lake. Hey, Russ.
Yeah, Dan. Yeah. Didn't Matt Gaetz win re-election for Congress, so that even though he's resigned from this Congress in January, he is reelected to Congress?
Not if he vacates the seat.
Oh.
Not if he vacates the seat. So I don't know where we are in the technical process. I mean, you have the announcement, so where the paperwork is and all of that business, I don't know. But, I mean, if he vacates the seat, then it would leave it open for a special election, which is exactly what DeSantis has indicated, a la the Mike Waltz seat as well, who's going to be Trump's NSA. So, we'll see how it plays out. Whether he keeps the seat, he runs for the seat, he leaves altogether, does something else, yet to be seen. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Amy Jacobson and Dan Proft here, and we want to tell you about our 2024 Food for the Poor campaign.
If you've listened to the station and to our show for any length of time, then you already know about Food for the Poor. They are a nonprofit, faith-based organization that provides food, water, medicine, clothing, and life-saving supplies directly to local partners in Latin America and the Caribbean.
We all know how bad the situation is right now in Latin America and the Caribbean.
For many families, the cost of food has simply become prohibitive, leading to sickness and starvation.
The only thing standing between these families and starvation is Food for the Poor. But in order to get this food to those who need it most, Food for the Poor needs your help. Your one-time gift of just $50 can provide life-saving food for a child for an entire year and provide their community with access to water.
To give a gift of any amount, just call 844-862-4673. That's 844-862-4673.
Or you can visit 560theanswer.com/foodforthepoor or just click on the Give Life banner.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At the bottom of the 6 o'clock hour, we'll talk to retired Cook County Judge Jimmy Brown about the Supreme Court overturning the Smollett conviction. 6:06. we'll turn our attention to border security and another Dem governor who has weighed in on quote-unquote mass deportation. That's 6:06.
Now let's head into the newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
The Illinois Supreme Court has overturned Jesse Smollett's conviction. We'll hear from lame duck Cook County State's Attorney Kim Foxx. Ex-Alderman Danny Solis takes the witness stand in the Mike Madigan trial at the Dirksen Federal Building. WIND Chicago News Time is 6 o'clock.
President-elect Trump has a new pick for Attorney General. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
Now Pam Bondi is in and Matt Gaetz is out.
Fox's Alexis McAdams near the Trump estate in West Palm Beach, Florida. Bondi was nominated hours after Gaetz, a former congressman also from Florida, withdrew.
If confirmed, Bondi would lead the Justice Department and set the agenda for federal investigations and prosecutions. This is what Trump had to say about Bondi yesterday on Truth Social. Pam will refocus the DOJ to its intended purpose of fighting crime and making America safe again. I've known Pam for many years. She's smart, she's tough.
Now, controversy still swirls around Gaetz.
Illinois Democrat Sean Casten says the House Ethics Committee report into former Congressman Matt Gaetz should still be made public, even though Gaetz is no longer a member of Congress or nominee for Attorney General. Casten has introduced legislation to force the Ethics Committee to release the report. The investigation looks into allegations of sexual misconduct and illicit drug use.
That's Fox's Ryan Schmelz. A recount isn't changing the results, so Pennsylvania's Democratic Senator Bob Casey is conceding defeat.
I just called Dave McCormick to congratulate him on his election.
McCormick's one of 4 Republicans to flip Democrat seats, giving the GOP a 53-47 Senate majority in the next Congress. North Korea is getting payback for sending more than 10,000 troops to Ukraine to help Russia wage war. A South Korean official says Russia has provided air defense missiles to North Korea, and there are reports Russia has violated UN sanctions, giving North Korea more than 1 million barrels of oil this year. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre says the U.S. will keep sending military aid to Ukraine.
And that is going to make sure they're strengthening their capabilities, including air defense, and put Ukraine in the best possible position on the battlefield.
After Russia attacked Ukraine with a new intermediate-range ballistic missile. Drama near the U.S. Embassy in London on lockdown after a suspicious package was found. British police detonated it with a controlled explosion. America's listening to Fox News.
6:02, 41 degrees and cloudy skies. Good morning, everyone. I'm Mike Scott. 6 have been injured in an early morning apartment fire. Fire broke out in the 4300 block of West Thomas. Chicago Fire Department remains on the scene. There was a late evening fire that saw several West Suburban fire departments rush to the scene of a blaze that severely damaged a dwelling in St. Charles. Investigators with the Fox River Fire Rescue District say one person was killed in the fire that broke out around 8 p.m. Firefighters arrived to find the home fully engulfed. The Illinois Supreme Court overturns Jesse Smollett's disorderly conduct conviction. Cook County State's Attorney Kim Foxx dismissed that case, and the lame duck state's attorney gave her opinion after the court ruled.
What's important to note is Dan Webb knew all along that this was not a legitimate prosecution. So I'm grateful that the court has finally put this to rest. And that the city and the county can move on from this. But it was an expensive lesson to learn and one that was unnecessary.
Smollett was convicted of disorderly conduct in December of 2021. He served 6 days of a 5-month jail sentence before being released. Former Chicago Alderman Danny Solis taking his turn as a key witness in Mike Madigan's racketeering trial. Solis took the stand yesterday, 8 years after he began working as an FBI mole while still in the Chicago City Council. Former alderman will be back on the stand Monday. A pair of Jewish DePaul students who were the victims of an anti-Semitic attack earlier this month on the university's Lincoln Park campus are demanding changes in security. During a rally yesterday, Max Long and Michael Kaminsky called on the school to do more to protect its Jewish students on campus.
In front of a DePaul public safety officer, Max and I were blindsided and ambushed by 2 individuals wearing ski masks. While I jumped in to try and fend off the attackers, the public safety officer who was employed by the university decided not to act.
The Lawfare Project's Brooke Goldstein alleges DePaul is unsafe for Jewish students.
The university was well aware of the multiple threats made against Max and Michael, just as it was aware of the campus climate of hate targeting its Jewish students. But the university did nothing.
Chicago police are investigating the incident as a hate crime, and 2 suspects remain at large. Blackhawks beat Florida 3-1. Bulls take on Atlanta tonight. College football, it's a big one. Number 6 Notre Dame, number 19 Army at Yankee Stadium tomorrow night, while number 25 Illinois will visit Rutgers. The news, a service of Woodland Windows and Doors in Roselle. Brighten your home and make the rooms in your house look bigger and better with larger windows or patio doors. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your consultation today. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
If you listen to the mainstream media and the Democrats, you'd think it was a sin to be black and conservative. Well, John Anthony blows up that perception every week on Black and Right. Join John tomorrow afternoon at 4 when he pushes back against the left and its regressive, progressive agenda that tries to dictate how people should think or feel about politics. Listen to Black and Right tomorrow afternoon at 4, right here on AM 560. The Answer.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
My husband's a retired cop, and I worked in a hospital for years. I'm going out right now because I'm getting ready to paint my fence. It's just literally amazing. And, you know, you watch the TV articles, and you go, yeah. Well, at least it's 100% returnable if it doesn't work. I'm not kidding you. It is the most amazing product I've ever taken.
Oh, I have a friend, Julia, who has taken a Balance of Nature now for quite some time, and she said, "Oh, Becky, ask your doctor about taking Balance of Nature." So I talked to my doctor about it, and she said, "Oh, try it."
Celebrate this season with Black Friday savings all month long. Go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 50% off your first preferred set. Don't miss out. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this exclusive Black Friday offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Hey guys, Donald Trump Jr. here with urgent news. The world's central banks are making unprecedented moves, and it's time to pay attention. In 2022 and 2023, they bought more gold than ever before. And now in 2024, the trend is accelerating. Why? Because central banks have lost faith in the dollar. And in these uncertain times, gold is the ultimate safe haven. If you too are worried about the dollar, I urge you to take similar action by diversifying your IRA or 401k into gold with my trusted friends at Birch Gold Group. To see how it works, get your free info kit on gold IRAs by texting the word PROTECT to 989898. I trust Birch Gold. They provide an easy process to roll over your 401k or IRA into gold without losing your tax-advantaged status. So text PROTECT to 989898. That's PROTECT to the number 989898 to get your free info kit on gold IRAs from Birch Gold.
Message and data rates may apply.
If you're self-employed and purchase your own health insurance, I have some great news. From now until January 15th, the health insurance exchanges are open again. And even if you've never qualified for a health insurance subsidy before, you most likely will now. The American Rescue Plan expanded subsidy eligibility to millions of Americans who have never qualified before, even to those with high income levels. And this year, you can purchase a PPO policy, which includes access to Northwestern Medical Group. Employers who provide small group coverage also have new options, and so do seniors looking for Medicare supplement coverage. Call me. I can help.
If you're tired of calling a bureaucrat at an 800 number to help you navigate Obamacare, then you need a local expert on your side. C. Stephen Tucker from healthinsurancementors.com is someone I know and trust.
He's a 30-year licensed broker
who's been educating our listeners for more than 10 years. Steve, how can our listeners get in touch with you?
Thanks, Dan. They can visit healthinsurancementors.com or call me directly at 630-674-1551. 630-674-1551.
6:08, Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. And this update is service of almostfreeteeth.com. If you have medical PPO insurance, find out how you could save 90% off on average to get your smile back. Check if you qualify at almostfreeteeth.com. The Kennedy already at 40 minutes. O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Stevenson at 30 minutes from 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive and climbing right now. Dan Ryan doing all right. 20 minutes, 95th into the Burns Circle, but the Bishop Ford is jamming into the Ryan Merge. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
Clouds and a bit milder today, breezy and a high 46. Clouds tonight, then some clearing, low 38. Cloudy day tomorrow for most of the day, high 45. Clouds and not as cool Sunday, the high Sunday 55. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
We're at 40 at O'Hare. Next news coming up at 6:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. President Trump's election victory already paying dividends for border security and removing people in this country illegally. Some being encouraged to do so by representatives of their own country. The self-deportation, because people around the world know that Trump is serious about what he's saying, and he's put together a serious team to effect it upon taking office. The U.S. ambassador to the Philippines telling the 300,000 estimated Filipinos in this country illegally best to return home. And migrant advocates stateside not too happy about that.
The Philippine ambassador should not have said those things because it causes unnecessary panic in our community.
Romeo Hebron says he was flooded with calls and walk-ins to the migrant center here in North Long Beach once Filipinos heard this from their ambassador.
Well, my advice to them is to immediately leave voluntarily, because once you're deported, you can never come back to the United States.
Certainly blunt advice, but not entirely correct. Being caught without authorization in the U.S. brings a 10-year ban against returning legally. Still, the message was clear. Leave now before being caught up in President-elect Trump's mass deportation threats.
My advice is for them not to wait to be deported.
There are about 4 million Filipinos in the U.S., and our estimate is that 1 in 4 is undocumented.
That's between 200 and 300,000 Filipinos, and many have been in the U.S. for decades.
Well, again, the priority is not going to be people in this country illegally, but who are otherwise law-abiding, although that doesn't mean that they are given some sort of amnesty, nor should they be conferred any sort of amnesty. So I think the ambassador's advice is a nice byproduct of Trump's victory. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. Reestablishing the rule of law in this country and reestablishing the respect for the rule of law in America the world over. That's a positive development. Unfortunately, not everybody's on board. And so we hear from another sanctuary-oriented governor, Michelle Lujan Grisham in New Mexico. And it's important to listen to what she's saying, because this is really going to be the talking point that's used by the left. And remember, they share a brain, so you're going to hear this over and over again. The names may be different, but the rhetoric will be the same. So take a look. And this has not come through me like the false braggadocio of a jelly belly. This is what they're actually going to be doing in terms of trying to occupy the moral high ground.
First of all, as you know, it's unlawful. You can't use the military. You can't do mass deportation. So any federal administration, you should expect states, and I think you should expect some bipartisan support, not just by the Democratic governors, is that violating the Constitution and the law, we're not going to do that. We ought to be working on making sure that violent criminals and criminal activity is stopped looked everywhere. There isn't a state that isn't interested, whether you're an American citizen or not. And he effectively, Trump, killed the bipartisan border deal. Not the first time that he's done that. We need more agents. We need more collective effort so that we're bringing border security and holding people accountable where they are. Disrupting family status and the economy, inhumane, cruel, unfair, discriminate policies that, again, are illegal on their face. We are not going to cooperate in any way in that effort.
We need more collective effort. We are not going to cooperate in that collective effort.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, or you could text us on that very same line.
This is the muddled mess that the left has made for itself with respect to their open borders policy. I mean, the real position. Where we need a collective effort. We need to get violent criminals out of this country. We're not going to participate in the collective effort to get violent criminals out of this country. I got it. Thank you for the clarity, by lack of clarity. First of all, the idea that mass deportations are illegal, according to who?
Yeah,
according to what? I mean, what even constitutes a mass deportation? What is illegal about deporting people who, to the extent they make an asylum claim, are adjudicated, they have their claim adjudicated, and then their asylum claim rejected, and it's time to leave? What people who enter this country illegally made no asylum claim. They're just here illegally. And they get picked up, and they're going to be deported. Where's the illegality there? The only ones supporting illegality are governors, only ones doing that, are governors like New Mexico Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham. And this whole military business, too, they're trying to, this is their play to say this is some sort of Mussolinian gambit. You can use the military in certain circumstances that are not related to domestic policing to free up other resources, agents who are able to maybe do more of the work internally in this country in terms of picking up people on the hit list because they're convicted violent criminals. They're one of the 600,000 estimated people that have either been convicted of a crime or are facing a crime, facing charges in addition to being here illegally.
And don't forget that the Biden administration flew tens of thousands of those criminals here. Okay? I mean, they didn't all just cross over the border. Some were actually flown here. And they know that they were criminals, and they let them in anyway and said, come on in. It's okay.
The bipartisan thing, we want more agents, but we need to be humane. We can't break up. They're all over the map because at the end of the day, they're not really serious about border security, and that's the message that needs to be driven home. It is being driven home by Tom Homan, I think, very effectively. And what Tom Homan has been saying as he's making the rounds is providing pretty good message leadership. I'd want to fall in line there. Just in a bitter twist of irony. And not that I'm applauding that this happened, but this is what happens. You never know. You think you're insulated because of your moral purity on these issues. That's what the left thinks they are until they're not. A DA in Alvin Bragg's Manhattan office.
A smiling Brandon Somoza being led out of the Midtown South precinct on West 35th Street this morning. Police say at about 2 a.m. Sunday, he robbed a 38-year-old woman in the hallway of her Hell's Kitchen apartment building. He allegedly grabbed her purse, cell phone, and bank cards and also performed a lewd act. The victim is a Manhattan assistant DA. She was not injured. Police traced her stolen cell phone to a hotel on West 45th Street, which led them to believe the suspect is a migrant, and they were able to track him down. Somoza was arrested just last night. Police say he was using drugs on the street and had stolen items with him. Police believe he is part of Tren de Aragua. That's the Venezuelan gang that has preyed on people in Times Square and Central Park. Somoza is facing a number of counts, including sexually motivated robbery and burglary. He also has 6 prior arrests, all from this year on similar crimes. And he's believed to have arrived in the U.S. in February of 2020. 23. In Lower Manhattan, Lauren Glassberg, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
A Venezuelan gangbanger in here illegally, arrested 6 times before sexual robbery of a sexual nature. It's an interesting charge.
Well,
of a Manhattan assistant DA. So now, is this one of the people that we're not supposed to deport because we don't want to break up a family, or because mass deportations are illegal according to Governor Grisham?
I mean, taxpayers paid for his hotel too, and he's a Venezuelan, Tren de Agua gang member. Those are the people that they have to get out of this country first.
20-year-old Venezuelan national arrested in Denver after 3-month search following alleged sexual assault in Jefferson County, Colorado. The suspect, living in his employer's basement, again goes to Tom Homan's need to do the employer piece of immigration enforcement too. Charged with third-degree aggravated assault of a child. Prior records show he entered through El Paso in September of 23. Previously arrested, of course, in May of 2024 for alleged forgery-related charges. The sexual and the person he is alleged to have sexually assaulted is 14 years old.
14. She'll never be the same. Nor will that Manhattan DA when they say she's not injured. She'll never be the same.
ICE Boston announces the arrest of 3 alleged illegal alien child rapists in Massachusetts. 2 of them charged with forcibly raping Massachusetts children. Another convicted of raping a child in Brazil in 2022, but was hiding in Massachusetts as a fugitive after he was caught and released at the New Mexico border, Governor Grisham, in April of 2022. This is Bill Malugin reporting for Fox. All of these arrests took place in Massachusetts, where Governor Healy said the other day her state will not cooperate with the incoming Trump administration's federal immigration enforcement efforts. Healy, Grisham, Pritzker, Whitmer, Newsom, all of the leading lights. Honduran migrant arrested for rape on popular Virginia trail.
They love their trails, huh?
Alleged rapist is behind bars after officials say he attacked a woman walking on the Washington and Old Dominion Trail. Police may fear there may be additional victims.
It's not if, it's when it's going to happen again. Okay.
Repeat offender with a troubling history is how the police describe him. Documented history of sexual assaults and indecent exposure in the region dating back 2 years.
Oh, God.
It's just on and on and on every single day.
And then going back to Denver, the mayor, Mike Johnson, he's cutting services for residents to reallocate funds for illegals.
Thank you all so much for being here this morning. I'm here to talk a little bit about the devastating impact of the failure of Republican leadership in Congress this week to pass comprehensive immigration change, and the impact that will have on both city budgets and on services that we can provide for newcomers in the city. The second is we will start to have to greenlight a set of hard decisions about budget reductions across the city to meet those costs that we know will continue to arrive. We want to talk about 2 of those today. While they're the first steps, they unfortunately will not be the last and may not be the hardest. This is a plan for shared sacrifice. In terms of our first step on city cuts, we are announcing today we will make some changes both to our services at DMV and to our services on Parks and Rec.
That's nice. So you're paying taxes to feed them, clothe them, house them, and now they're taking away services that you've been paying for to reallocate funds to illegals.
In North Carolina, you have the state legislators there acting in furtherance of the Trump administration's agenda. So it's not everywhere. It's just those states that are governed by sanctuary politicians. A bill that requires sheriffs to report to ICE and cooperate with their detainers passed a veto override vote in the North Carolina House and Senate. Became law Wednesday. They overrode the veto from this past fall of the Dem governor there, Cooper, because of Republican control of that state legislature. So some states are going to fly in formation and act in furtherance of the safety of their residents, and other states are not. Most of the people listening live in one. That is not. Jordan in Antioch.
Yeah, good morning. So that the earlier part of that section was kind of what I was talking to when we were talking about the price, the $80 billion or whatever it was a year and everything else. A lot of them are gonna remove themselves from the equation when they know that if they do get caught, Tom Homan had floated the idea of a 20-year ban, permanent ban, or a permanent ban period if you get caught and you don't remove yourself. So some of these guys are going to remove themselves from the equation. But to the point about the military, and I know they like to gaslight and they're just bloviating and just using fear, but the military is really good at logistics. They're really good at moving things, lots of things, to faraway places, and they do it quickly. So the military aspect of this, I'm sure, is probably more of a logistics than a roundup part. And the other thing you have to remember is the Venezuelan government told us we are not taking back any of our criminals, right? The Hondurans, we are not taking back any of our criminals. Well, you know what? When you look on your little radar screen at the airport and you see a couple C-130s with some F-22s flying next to them, and those C-130s are full of Venezuelan convicts from Tren de Aragua, and there's about 6 Apaches sitting on Overwatch, guess what? You're going to watch them undo the ramp, walk them off onto the tarmac with their free set of jewelry that they're wearing, and watch us fly back off into the sunset. That's what the military part of it, I think, is going to be.
Thanks for the call, Jordan. The other piece of that, in terms of repatriation of people in this country illegally, and cooperation from Northern Triangle countries, cooperation from Mexico. Don't forget what Trump did in the first term. Katie McFarland reminded me of this in my most recent podcast with her, which is when AMLO was being a little recalcitrant in terms of supporting Trump's efforts on the border. Remember what Trump did? I said, oh, okay. 25% tariff on all goods made in Mexico entering the United States. No, President Trump, no, we can discuss this. Yeah, you know what? I do have some resources that I can scramble on our side to work in concert with your side to stop the flow, stop the caravans, and stop the flow up from the southern border of Mexico to the southern border of the United States, and so on and so forth. Amazing how people were motivated by Trump to behave constructively. And the same thing goes with leveraging foreign aid that we provide some of these other countries. I know that's probably on the DOJ hit list, but there may be higher, better uses for it in terms of the more pressing need for border security. So there's a lot of tools in the areas of energy policy and trade policy that Trump can use to enhance our national security as, writ large, and our border security specifically. Something else yesterday, too, Mayorkas must not have been available. Xavier Becerra, who is actually the HHS secretary, it's not that dude, Rachel Levin.
She's the assistant, or he, sorry.
He was the stand-in, Becerra, for Mayorkas. Hearing about those missing children, remember this is one of Tom Homan's priorities too, the 300 to 400,000 unaccompanied minors that DHS has lost track of. This is under questioning from Tom Tiffany, Wisconsin Republican congressman.
Would you change anything that you've done in the last 4 years with 320,000 children unaccounted for by your administration?
We work tirelessly to strengthen and improve the program of the UC, the unaccompanied children that come before us. And we work really hard to make sure we, first and foremost, protect the safety and the well-being of those kids. Every day is a challenge, and we do the best we can.
Doing a great job.
Yeah, he's really.
Job. It's the old saying, if this is the best you got, then we need to find better, don't we? Something else, too, this exchange he had with Andy Biggs. We've talked about this before. DHS not abiding the law, not abiding their own laws with respect to, for example, DNA collection for people entering this country. And listen to the vetting answer that Becerra gives in terms of what DHS is doing when they're placing children, unaccompanied children, with adults. Frightening.
The safety and well-being of children in our custody is our number one priority.
Well, so that's important to know, because
your record indicates that biometrics for the sponsors were eased up there. The use of DNA, I'm going to read from your directive from March 22nd, 2021. Use of DNA is only used for the purpose of establishing biological relationships for purposes of sponsorship and is not submitted to law enforcement personnel or run against law enforcement databases. Guess that last part? Not submitted to law enforcement personnel and not run against law enforcement databases. And to get this part, submission of DNA by the parent is voluntary. How in the world does that protect the child, the unaccompanied minor, when actually what you're doing is you're saying the parent, whether you submit the DNA, that's voluntary. So you're going to be taking whoever it is, the sponsor, their word. So how does that protect the child?
Chairman, thank you for the question. We use a number of tools to make sure we can identify the child and certainly do the background checks on anyone who wishes to be a sponsor. We always hope that we can get the most direct information about the the people who are wishing to sponsor these children. And we use, as you mentioned, a number of techniques, including fingerprinting and DNA on occasion when it helps us to identify
on occasion. And if you don't have the DNA and you don't have the fingerprints, how in the world are you checking the databases for the background? How are you vetting them?
We have a number of techniques that we use to make sure we're...
What are they?
They can include any number of things such as, sometimes it will include fingerprints, it will include a direct interview with the individual, it will be a check on citizenship documents, it will be a...
How often do you use fingerprinting or DNA?
Again, it depends on the type of information we have to identify the individuals who are wishing to sponsor.
Mm-hmm. Right. The human traffickers must watch those congressional hearings and just laugh. Ugh. Neil in Arlington Heights.
Thanks, Dan and Amy. I think that public servants, quote unquote, that continue to sell out our nation should be tried, convicted, and sentenced for high treason, for serving foreign nationals over the citizens of the U.S. When Trump takes office, I think the ACLU is going to file an injunction with the Supreme Court to try and stop what he's going to do with illegals. And then I think Trump will pass a federal law in Congress that if it's disobeyed, the governors of the states can be prosecuted. That's my opinion. What do you think?
Well, thanks for the call. I like what Tom Homan said about, there is a criminal charge called harboring a fugitive and sort of sending a shot across the bow of some of these sanctuary politicians, state and city politicians, and what they may try to craft to pierce the sovereign immunity that public officials enjoy. Be interesting. Corey Woodlawn.
Hey, thanks for taking the call, Dan. Good morning, Amy. We've got 16 territories, 9 uninhabited. Start dropping them off over there. I wouldn't give them any land in Texas. Put them on one of those territories, and if in 100 years we come back and they're Australia, that's good for them. But at the same time, we've got to hurry up and do this before Alex the First ghost rise up amongst them, and we have a bigger problem on our hands. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Corey. Coming up at 6:36, we'll talk to retired Cook County Judge Jimmy Brown about the Supreme Court overturning the Jussie Smollett conviction.
I guess we're back to being MAGA country. But now let's head into the newsroom. Here is Mike Scott. Good morning, Mike.
6:32. We have gray skies this morning. No serious roadway problems like we had yesterday. We'll get to traffic in just a moment. But this morning, a second Australian teen who fell critically ill after drinking tainted alcohol in Laos has died. The 19-year-old had been in critical condition for days following the poisonings in Laos more than a week ago. And this morning, the U.S. State Department has issued a health alert for citizens who may be traveling to Laos, cautioning against going to that country. That after an American and 2 Danish tourists also died. President-elect Trump is announcing former Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi as his new pick to head the Justice Department. The announcement came after former Congressman Matt Gaetz withdrew. President-elect Trump's cabinet continues to take shape this morning, as reports suggest Tennessee Senator Bill Hagerty is being tapped for Treasury Secretary. Senator Hagerty said last night the decision is ultimately up to the president.
The American public expect radical change to take place. He's going to select cabinet members that will help him do that. Again, that's a personal decision for him, not a decision for me. But I'm certain of this. He's going to pick the right people to help him come in and deliver on this mandate, people that can help him rethink the way government works and to bring the government back to the people and take it away from the bureaucracy.
Hagerty is a former private equity investor with strong banking and Wall Street experience. He was also President Trump's previous ambassador to Japan. A Florida man awaiting trial for plotting to bomb the New York Stock Exchange before Thanksgiving remains behind bars. The FBI claims Haroon Yenner was planning to wear a disguise while planting explosive devices in Lower Manhattan and was planning to detonate the bomb remotely. 6 have been injured in an early morning apartment fire in the 4300 block of West Thomas. Chicago Fire cleaning up that scene. There was a late evening fire that saw several West Suburban fire departments rush to the scene of a blaze that severely damaged a dwelling in St. Charles and killed 1. The Illinois Supreme Court overturning Jesse Smollett's disorderly conduct conviction. The state's high court ruling that a special prosecutor's decision to retry the former actor over allegations he staged a hate crime against himself violated his rights because he had already entered into a highly controversial agreement with Cook County State's Attorney Kim Foxx. And an issue at the state level could likely cause Chicago's budget gap to grow by millions next year. A tax on prepaid phones and calling cards was set to go into effect January 1st. However, state legislators delayed the start in order to account for issues with implementation. So that delay could likely cost the city of Chicago $40 million. Blackhawks snap a 3-game losing skid, beating Florida 3-1. Bulls take on Atlanta tonight. The number 25 Fighting Illini tomorrow try to keep their Big Ten winning going in football as they visit Rutgers. The news is a service of Balance of Nature, fruits and veggies in a capsule. Order online at balanceofnature.com. Use coupon code Chicago to save 35% as a preferred customer. Hurry, offer ends soon. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
November 2nd, 2020, marked the 100th anniversary of the first commercial radio broadcast. We're still here, and we're bigger and better than ever. You can still listen to us over this great radio station, but now there are no limitations. Your smartphone is now your smart radio. Listen to us online on the app, tunein.com, iHeartRadio, and Odyssey.com. Your smart speaker can find us too. With radio, there is no separation anxiety. We're always on. AM 560, The Answer.
If you have unfiled taxes or are in debt to the IRS, this is important news. Did you know the IRS has programs specifically designed to help people struggling with tax debt? Powerful tax assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. No one knows these programs better than the experts at Optima Tax Relief, America's most trusted tax resolution firm, A-rated by the Better Business Bureau. Their award-winning team of tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. One call to Optima can start the process, helping to end your worries about wage garnishment, asset seizure, and other IRS actions. Make sure you're getting the best options to solve your tax problems. Call the experts at Optima today for a free confidential consultation.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
At Balance of Nature, the quality of our products always starts with TLC, tender, loving care. We start by ensuring that only the finest fruit and vegetable ingredients are selected for our supplements. We put our ingredients through an advanced vacuum cold process that removes their moisture. Then they're ground up into a fine powder, encapsulated, and voila! Our fruits and veggies supplements are made just for you with love. And our commitment to care doesn't end there. Our customer care team is here to provide assistance, ensuring that you have the support and guidance you need. It's the tender, loving care you can see, smell, taste, and feel with every delivery. Celebrate this season with Black Friday savings all month long. Go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 50% off your first preferred set. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this exclusive Black Friday offer by using discount code Chicago.
Hey guys, Donald Trump Jr. here with urgent news. The world's central banks are making unprecedented moves, and it's time to pay attention. In 2022 and 2023, they bought more gold than ever before. And now in 2024, the trend is accelerating. Why? Because central banks have lost faith in the dollar. And in these uncertain times, gold is the ultimate safe haven. If you too are worried about the dollar, I urge you to take similar action by diversifying your IRA or 401k into gold with my trusted friends at Birch Gold Group. To see how it works, get your free info kit on gold IRAs by texting the word PROTECT to 989898. I trust Birch Gold. They provide an easy process to roll over your 401k or IRA into gold without losing your tax-advantaged status. So text PROTECT to 989898. That's PROTECT to the number 989898 to get your free info kit on gold IRAs from Birch Gold.
Message and data rates may apply.
Need to hire quality candidates fast? You need Indeed. Our video interview tool makes it easy and effortless to meet with candidates. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
640. Let's get an update on the roads. We do that in our Team Hochberg Traffic Center, a service of Lowe's. It's Black Friday build-up at Lowe's. Get up to 50% off select major appliances. Plus, take an additional 10% off when you buy another select major appliance. Valid 11/6 through 12/4. Cannot be combined with additional discounts. See Lowe's.com for details while supplies last. The Kennedy, pretty mild, 44. O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Stevenson, 40 minutes. From the Tri-State into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Tri-State itself slows up northbound right at Roosevelt Road. I-88, the Reagan, jams up eastbound at Roosevelt Road. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now, your official Chicagoland weather forecast. Cloudy, breezy, and a little milder today. High 46. Cloudy and cold overnight. Low 38. Cloudy and 42 right now. Your next news update, 7. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Only the biggest story.
This hourly segment is brought to you by IDT. Eliminate paper files with the IoT Smart Connected Scanning Device. Find them at ready4IDT.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So yesterday, the Illinois Supreme Court overturned the conviction of Jussie Smollett. That's a French actor, borrowed from Chappelle. Jussie Smollett, yeah. So I know that probably came as a surprise to some, and people are rightly upset because it just represents sort of more of this a different sort of lawlessness in Illinois, aspect of the lawlessness in Illinois, which is sort of the politically connected aspect of the lawlessness. Because if you're recalling, there was a lot of intrigue about Michelle Obama's chief of staff, Tina Chen, communicating ex parte with Kim Fox about Jussie Smollett, and then they struck this unholy deal where he gets 15 hours of community service and forfeits $10,000 bond, and we call it a day, which of course led to the special prosecutor being appointed in the form of Dan Webb, and this legal saga that has dragged on now for years.
6 years.
But I got to say, if you're reading the Supreme Court opinion, the state Supreme Court opinion, you know, I really don't put this on the Supreme Court. It is the unholy deal that Kim Fox cut with Jussie Smollett, and she bears the brunt of the responsibility because I think, and we'll talk to a retired Cook County judge about this too, but I think there's a pretty strong argument the court makes that this deal that was entered into Jesse Smollett held up his end of it.
Right.
That may have been a bad deal,
But
he
it was a
held
deal.
up. But he held up his end. He did the community service. He forfeited the bond, so that's consideration. The specific performance created the reliance, and then for that deal to be obviated by a judge-appointed special prosecutor and to go at him again, I don't think is consistent with relevant case law, and I don't think it's in the interest of justice. Even though it was an unholy deal, the focus shouldn't be on bitching about the Supreme Court. It should be on, I don't know, reminding everyone just how bad Kim Foxx has been over the last 8 years. But that's my view.
But it's such an embarrassment. I mean, it made Chicago look we are homophobic, racist. This was MAGA country. And we all know what really happened. And that's what is pissing a lot of people off. We know that he cut a $3,500 check to his friends, the Ascendario brothers, to go to River North in the middle of the night. And here they are reenacting what happened that night to Fox.
So I saw him out the corner of my eye, and I was like, okay, that's him. Let's go. We gotta go get this Empire Yeah, that's him. That's him. Is that him? That's that nigga. And that's when we started yelling the famous slurs he wanted us to yell. Hey, aren't you that Empire Empire nigga? It's MAGA country.
MAGA country. And then they poured bleach on him. They
Yeah,
roughed him up a
I think
little.
we all know what happened. I think we all know what happened. For more on this, we're pleased to be joined by retired Cook County Judge Jimmy Brown. By way of background, he was an assistant Cook County State's attorney for 5 years, criminal defense attorney for 8, and a circuit court judge for 18 years. Former Cook County Judge Jim Brown, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good morning. It's an honor to be a guest on the best show in all of media.
Well, thank you so much. So your opinion on the Supreme Court's opinion?
Well, Dan and Amy, I want to preface my comments with the caveat that I cast no aspersions towards the Illinois Supreme Court, and I ascribe no nefarious motives to any individual member on the Illinois Supreme Court. With that being said, however, I strongly disagree with the court's reasoning. This decision does very little to instill public confidence in the integrity of the Illinois judicial system, and simply put, the decision allows Smollett to escape justice based on a legal technicality. And what I find so remarkable about the opinion itself is what is actually not in the opinion. There is not one comment in this opinion concerning the quality and the sufficiency and the strength of the evidence, because, in fact, the evidence of Smollett's guilt was overwhelming. There's not one comment about the performance of the trial court judge in this case, because, in fact, he gave Smollett a fair trial. There's not one comment about the Office of Special Prosecutor and Dan Webb and his team, because the prosecution was fair, swift, and decisive. Further, there's not one comment about the jury or its verdict. And lastly, there's not one comment or criticism of the Chicago Police Department, because I believe, and many believe, that investigation conducted by the police was thorough, professional, and they treated Smollett with the utmost dignity and respect. Now, I can assure you and Amy and all your listeners that if any of the aforementioned had committed any type of misconduct or any error whatsoever, we would be reading about it in that opinion. And this is what I consider to be so distressing about the court's opinion.
Okay, but aren't the court's hands tied a bit because of the deal that was entered into? I know the appellate court upheld the conviction, but just from the state Supreme Court's opinion, Illinois case law establishes it is fundamentally unfair to allow prosecutors to renege on a deal with a defendant when the defendant has relied on the agreement to his detriment. So, what is the response to that?
The response is that the law is miscited, I believe, by the Illinois Supreme Court. On March 26th of 2019, when Smollett went to court, the state nollie prossed the case. Under Illinois law, and actually under the law throughout the United States, nollie pros means that the case got suspended. There was no promise by the state whatsoever to never prosecute him again. There was only a promise to suspend the case. The state, under the theory of nollie pros, has the right to reinstate the case for any reason they choose. And the court did not discuss that adequately, in my opinion.
Well, but I mean, the court did say, I mean, this nollie prosequi, that we have previously held that nollie pros is entered before jeopardy attaches. The state may re-prosecute the defendant subject to other relevant statutory constitutional defenses. So it's not an absolute. It is essentially the idea that it's so long as there has not been a deal that dispenses with the matter made. And they argue, again, the specific performance, $10,000 bond forfeiture, 15 hours of community service. You may not like the deal, but that was the deal, and he held up his end. So it was in force.
That is a good argument, Dan. However, there is no precedent in Illinois case law that states that the state couldn't reinstate the case. This is the first time ever that the Illinois Supreme Court applied contract principles to a criminal case, offer acceptance and consideration. They had never done that before. There was no precedent for that. This is the first time that the Supreme Court made that type of a ruling.
They sort of conflated the idea of waiving a constitutional right with waiving with the bond forfeiture that the prosecution tried to characterize as voluntary. But I mean, but he definitely acted in detriment to his defense by the specific performance. So I mean, isn't that essentially an incriminating act that could be used against them, that he committed only under the belief that this deal was in force?
Well, if you note that on March 26th, after Smollett and his attorneys walked out of court and were conducting interviews with the reporters, Smollett's attorneys specifically stated that they had no deal, that the state just chose to dismiss the case. They stated, we have no deal. So there was no detrimental reliance on the part of Smollett. Furthermore, Smollett forfeited $10,000. The restitution, the police overtime, amounted to $120,000. So there was no real agreement, in my opinion.
So is this case over, or we're never going to see the $120,000 that he owes our Chicago Police Department?
Well, the criminal case is over. There still is a pending civil case where the city of Chicago is seeking reimbursement for the police overtime of $120,000. So it's not over from a civil law perspective, but it is over from a criminal law perspective.
What about the trial court? I mean, if this deal was as unholy as I'm describing it, if there were the ethical breaches by Kim Fox that we both stipulate to, then why was that deal allowed to be consummated?
Well, it's my personal opinion, there's nothing in the record, that he was given special treatment by the Cook County State's Attorney's Office because he was a Hollywood actor and a celebrity. And I would note that during the Office of Special Prosecutors' investigation of this case prior to trial, the State's Attorney's Office, the Cook County State's Attorney's Office, could not produce one example of anyone, any defendant, being given this type of a deal based on those charges, not one person. Meanwhile, they produce evidence, the State's Attorney produces evidence that 5,400 people, defendants, had to go through a deferred prosecution program and report to the court and follow all kinds of conditions and restitution. Smollett was unique. He didn't have to do any of that. He was given preferential treatment. And it was just grossly unfair.
But why did the judge accept the deal?
The judge did not accept the deal. The judge just granted the motion to nollie pros, which only means we're suspending the case. There was no promise by the state on the record that they would not prosecute the case in the future. That's why I believe the Illinois Supreme Court's legal reasoning is incorrect.
Well, I wanted to ask you this because, Judge Brown, because Kim Foxx, I know ethical breaches were made. Well, a lot of people think that in the court of public opinion. But she's now acting like a victim and said, well, just hear what she said, and then I want to get your reaction.
It has always confounded me that we spent this much time, energy, and effort on one single case, which is why I believe wholeheartedly that it was beyond just the case in Mr. Smollett. It was truly an attempt to undermine me. And the work that this office was doing.
What is she saying there?
I emphatically disagree with that statement. There were so many ethical lapses that the Office of Special Prosecutor found during its investigation. For instance, they found that Fox made 5 false or misleading statements to the public. They found that she did not understand the law of recusal. When an attorney, state's attorney recuses themselves from a case, they recuse the whole office. Fox thought that by recusing, she only recused herself and not the remainder of the office. She was completely wrong on the law. The case just has mud all over it, in my legal opinion.
And the argument that the appellate court made, what did they say in terms of addressing this sort of fundamental issue about whether there was detrimental reliance by Smollett on the deal?
Well, again, they said that the state went on the record on March 26th of 2019 and now leapfrogged the case, which does not preclude them from reinstating or reindicting that case. Furthermore, the appellate court stated that there was no precedent to apply contract principles to a criminal case. Under Illinois case law, it had never been done before. And so, in fact, there was no detrimental reliance on behalf of Smollett. Just forfeiting the bond in doing 15 hours of community service did not amount to detrimental reliance.
What about their use of the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania's decision in the Cosby case? They make the analogy and they write from Cosby, it cannot be gainsaid that society holds a strong interest in the prosecution of crimes. It is also true that no such interest, however important, can eclipse society's interest in ensuring that the constitutional rights of people are vindicated. Society's interest in prosecution does not displace the remedy due to constitutionally aggrieved persons. They basically took up the argument that the Pennsylvania Supreme Court made in Cosby and applied it here.
Well, it's an interesting argument, too, but the law in Illinois is clear. Illinois is not bound by another jurisdiction's precedent.
Right.
And they're free to ignore it or accept it. Obviously, the Illinois Supreme Court accepted it, but the appellate court did not. So this case is unique to Illinois, and I agreed with the appellate court in this case that they did not need to abide by that precedent.
But fundamentally, I mean, the blame here rests mostly with Kim Foxx.
The blame relies 100% with Kim Foxx. Again, because Smollett was given such preferential treatment, it was inherently and grossly unfair to other defendants charged with those kinds of cases. It's obvious that they were starstruck by his celebrity, and also there's evidence of people calling the state's attorney on his behalf, and it just has so much taint, this case, that it's just a sordid chapter in Illinois history.
I wanted to get your opinion on one other matter. We discussed a bit yesterday, this judge, Cook County Judge Thomas Nowinski, who is under fire for releasing an individual who on a domestic violence charge, and then he went back and killed his wife, allegedly. There's a hue and cry in politicians. Susanna Mendoza, who wants to run for mayor, he needs to step down immediately. The judge wrong in that case, or his hands were tied by the Safety Act?
Well, I think there's a lot of mitigation that you have to afford Judge Nowinski, because In fact, he is kind of bound by the Safety Act, which I would refer to as the Unsafety Act. There's so much pressure on the pretrial court judges to release people into the community. It's just very difficult for them to hold people over. They want the powers that be want the Cook County Jail empty, so they err on the side of releasing people because we have cashless bail. So there's just a lot of pressure on those judges. Obviously, in hindsight, his decision is wrong. Human behavior is very unpredictable. The decision was wrong, but I mean, there's a lot of mitigation there. He's under such great pressure to release.
Yeah, but this is the second time this year he's let a domestic violence suspect go that has resulted in a murder. So I think
that is true. But you know, in the domestic violence, and I served in the domestic violence division when I was on the bench. The human behavior is so unpredictable, especially when there's sudden and intense passion between people that love one another.
Jimmy, we got to
predict.
Yeah, we got to leave it there, but I appreciate it. Retired Cook County Judge Jimmy Brown, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate your insights.
Thank you.
And we'd love to have you back. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line. It is now 7 a.m. WIND Chicago.
Matt Gaetz is out. Pam Bondi is in. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. She's President-elect Trump's new nominee for U.S. Attorney General, hours after Gaetz withdrew. Bondi used to be Florida's Attorney General and was a Trump attorney in his first impeachment case. Fox's Alexis McAdams reports from West Palm Beach.
This is one of the main reasons that Bondi was floated and picked pretty quickly, according to sources, is because she says the DOJ needs to be held accountable. Listen.
We talk about the weaponization of the FBI, the CIA, ATF now, the IRS. Well, it all starts at the top with Merrick Garland.
If confirmed, Bondi would replace Attorney General Garland. Now, Gaetz calls Bondi a stellar pick as Republicans and Democrats spar over whether a House ethics report probing sexual misconduct and drug use allegations against the former congressman should be made public. Now, the Trump defense secretary nominee, former Fox host Pete Hegseth, met with several Republican senators dealing with his own controversy.
And we welcome the opportunity to talk to any senator that wants to talk to us.
Hegseth was a major in the Army National Guard and war veteran, but his lack of experience and sexual assault allegations have raised concern among some senators. Hegseth argues he was fully investigated and completely cleared of the allegations.
As Fox's Ryan Schmelz, more than 2 weeks after the election, a Democratic senator has finally conceded defeat.
Yesterday, Pennsylvania's Department of State says it finished the initial count of all votes cast with the exception of contested ballots. About an hour after that post on X, Democrat Bob Casey issued this statement.
I just called Dave McCormick to congratulate him on his election to represent Pennsylvania in the United States Senate.
Casey's concession marks the end of a tough Senate fight marked by legal challenges as Democratic officials in several county election boards voted to count improperly filled out ballots, violating state law.
Fox's Madeline Rivera. It's back to business as usual at the U.S. Embassy in London, no longer on lockdown after British police detonated a suspicious package found nearby in a controlled explosion. America's listening to Fox News.
42 degrees at 7:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. 6 have been injured in an early morning apartment fire. Broke out in the 4300 block of West Thomas. Chicago Fire continuing to clean up that scene. There was a late evening fire that saw several West suburban fire departments rush to the scene of a blaze that severely damaged a dwelling in St. Charles. Investigators with the Fox River Fire Rescue District say one person was killed in that blaze that broke out around 8 p.m. The Illinois Supreme Court overturning Jesse Smollett's disorderly conduct conviction. The state's high court ruling a special prosecutor's decision in their minds to retry the former actor over allegations he staged a hate crime against himself, violated his rights because he had already entered into a controversial agreement with Cook County State's Attorney Kim Foxx. Former Chicago Alderman Danny Solis taking his turn as a key witness in the Michael Madigan racketeering trial at the Dirksen Federal Building. It's a day off today. The former alderman will be back on the stand on Monday. Illinois legislators are done for the year, but they'll be back in early January before the new General Assembly is seated. Republicans are issuing warnings about that. Here's AM 560's Greg Bishop in Springfield with the close of the veto session.
There weren't any vetoes to override during veto session. That didn't prevent legislators from passing several bills. Wednesday, Democratic State Representative Jay Hoffman carried a bill impacting various state statutes, including unemployment insurance.
This is agreed by business and labor, and I think it's very important that we do in order to avoid an increase in taxes on employers and a decrease in benefits to employees.
Republicans criticized that it included too many things that they say should have been separated. Just before adjourning for the year Thursday, Republican State Representative Brad Halbrook warned about the lame duck session set to begin January 2nd.
The lame duck session has historically been one of the most risky and concerning periods for the residents of our great state.
Previous lame duck sessions brought about the end of cash bail and the ban on semi-automatic firearms. I'm Greg Bishop.
Indiana Governor-elect Mike Braun says his cabinet will have 8 policy secretaries focused on delivering results for Hoosiers. Braun says he's completely reorganizing the executive branch of government in Indiana when he takes over for Governor Eric Holcomb in January. Blackhawks 3-1 winners at the United Center, beating Florida. Bulls take on the Hawks at the United Center tonight. Bears continue preparations for the Vikings at Soldier Field Sunday. The news, a service of Trimlight Chicago. You've got to see it to believe it. Amazing, customizable, and permanent holiday and year-round accent lighting for the exterior of your home or business. It's not too late to book your holiday installation, but do it today with Trim Light Chicago. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Your home is a valuable asset, and you want to take care of your home. From roofs, siding, windows, and doors to furnaces, flooring, landscaping, and much more. Listen to your go-to for all things home. It's Home Answers Radio every Sunday morning at 9. Presented by Lang Home Medical Equipment, Executive Green Carpet Cleaning, and by Valdecast Windows and Doors. Get answers from industry experts so you can make informed decisions about your home improvement. Right here on AM 560, The Answer.
I love giving jewelry as a gift. Roland's Jewelers is the perfect place for that magical holiday gift. Hi, it's Mike Gallagher. Roland's Jewelers is the absolute perfect place for the magical holiday gift for someone you love. Buying jewelry is about trust. Roland's is the jeweler I trust. I'm a customer, and I'm always amazed by their 5-star Google reviews, so many of them, but why not? They're the best. They're family-owned. Hey, getting engaged? Roland's has a large selection of mined and lab-grown diamonds at great prices. Choose from beautifully crafted engagement rings from designer Simon G. or Italian designer Roberto Coin, offering stunning diamond pendants and earrings. How about a Tag Heuer watch with cutting-edge technology? I love mine from Roland's. I continue to be impressed at how expertly trained their staff is. Visit Roland's Jewelers in downtown Libertyville or RolandsJewelers.com. That's Roland's, Rollands, Roland's Jewelers, a family-owned jeweler you can trust, just like I do.
Hey guys, Donald Trump Jr. here with urgent news. The world's central banks are making unprecedented moves, and it's time to pay attention. In 2022 and 2023, they bought more gold than ever before. And now in 2024, the trend is accelerating. Why? Because central banks have lost faith in the dollar. And in these uncertain times, gold is the ultimate safe haven. If you too are worried about the dollar, I urge you to take similar action by diversifying your IRA or 401k into gold with my trusted friends at Birch Gold Group. To see how it works, get your free info kit on gold IRAs by texting the word PROTECT to 989898. I trust Birch Gold. They provide an easy process to roll over your 401k or IRA into gold without losing your tax-advantaged status. So text PROTECT to 989898. That's PROTECT to the number 989898 to get your free info kit on gold IRAs from Birch Gold.
Message and data rates may apply.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm. If you own a timeshare, don't miss this public service announcement from Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group.
If you receive an unsolicited phone call or mail piece to discuss selling, renting, or especially canceling your timeshare, don't fall for it. If you really want out of your timeshare, hang the phone up immediately or throw that mail piece in the trash and contact your timeshare resort or Wesley Financial Group for assistance with your timeshare. As the only Inc. 500 timeshare cancellation company, our knowledge, experience, and results has made Wesley a trusted resource for over 40,000 families we've helped get out of their timeshare. Give us a call and I'll send you our timeshare exit information kit free with the straight facts about your timeshare and all of your options for cancellation.
Call for your free info kit. 800-839-8484. 800-839-8484. 800-839-8484.
7:08. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time, a service of Trim Light Chicago. 'Tis the season to save time, money, and energy with permanent programmable holiday lighting for your home. Get your free quote today at trimlight-chicago.com. The Kennedy at 49 minutes. O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Stevenson 40 minutes from the Tri-State into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. An accident in West Chicago, Town, and Washington. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Your AM 560 Weather Center forecast with AccuWeather's Steve Williams.
Clouds and a bit milder today, breezy and a high 46. Clouds tonight, then some clearing, low 38. Cloudy day tomorrow for most of the day, high 45. Clouds and not as cool Sunday, the high Sunday 55. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
42 at O'Hare. Next news at 7:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. We made reference to it in our conversation with Steve Moore yesterday, this interview that Tucker Carlson did with Trump's Office of Management and Budget Director Russ Vought from his first term, Trump's O&B director. And Vought gave a pretty good tutorial on the difficulty in dealing with the administrative state, what the Doge boys as well as Trump's team are going to be up against. He described it thusly.
So why can't you just, so if the president says, again, to refer to your example, I don't think we should be funding Ukraine, I'm elected, we're going to cut this off. If Congress wants to fund Ukraine, they can go ahead and do that, but the agencies are not going to fund Ukraine. So why wouldn't you just fire the people who disobey, who try to subvert democracy?
You've got to know how to fire them, and there are tools to do that, and the president was innovating in that space himself with what's called Schedule F, of essentially saying, if you work for me in your policy, a career official, think your attorneys who are writing regulations, then we're going to create a new classification for you, and you are going to be what most of the country is, which is at-will employee. That's where we're headed, but there was also ways that...
Why? I don't understand a system where a president, any president, Obama, Biden, Donald Trump, comes in and doesn't have control of the executive branch, because constitutionally he does have control. So like, how come you can't fire them? Why is it just not as simple as saying you're fired?
It should be, and this is one of the mountains of the administrative state. You know, this is how they have built their institution, by essentially having it be incredibly difficult to hire and fire employees. And so I'll get another example. When the president decided to take money from defense to build the wall, we had clear legal grounds to do it that Congress had given us. It's called transfer authority. And I told this to the Hill, and obviously this was controversial. It shouldn't have been controversial. Congress had given us very clear transfer authority. I must have had at least 3 times someone relitigate that decision from the career staff who work at OMB. Are you sure? Are you sure? I think we should oppose. I think this. Because guys, the decision has been made. Execute the decision. And you see that everywhere, right? And if you don't drive it, you're going to get better. You're not going to be able to accomplish what the president needs you to accomplish.
How about?
So, it's a little bit like trying to hack through a rainforest with a Swiss Army knife. It sounds like, if you listen to the full distillation of this from Russ Vought. And so, the Doge boys and the Trump administration are in for some real intransigence, you can bet, with respect to the administrative state. And this is why the discussion of reductions in force, the Schedule F reform that Vought just mentioned. I mean, it really is not necessarily going to be a straight line in terms of regaining control of the government from the permanent government in D.C. It's wild, and it also speaks to the inertia for spending, because the people that are sent to Washington to rein this in don't have the appetite, don't really have the aptitude, and so things just continue on in the way that they have been going for, well, at least since the growth of the welfare state. For more on all this, let's go from one former OMB director to another. Yeah, he was OMB director for George W. Bush, in addition to being the former president of Purdue University, in addition to being the former governor of Indiana. He's Mitch Daniels. He joins us now. Mitch, thanks for being with us again. Appreciate it.
Morning, Dan.
What's your reaction to what Ross Vought was describing?
I'm sympathetic.
Yeah, I bet.
It's what he says is true, and I'm sure it's more true than by far than anything that certainly that I dealt with those years ago. It's not brand new. Harry Truman, at becoming president, famously said, what kind of place is this? I give an order and nothing happens. So it's not a completely modern innovation. But no, I'm very hopeful about the prospects for something to change here. The country sent a message that it wanted to change. You have people with, I think, the will and the courage to try. And but I agree that it would help if they had some new tools. On the spending side, I for a long time, and after a lot of thought, have felt that restoring impoundment power to presidents was a good idea. By that I mean the ability, even though Congress may have voted for a certain amount of spending on a given purpose, the ability of a president to decide we don't need to spend all that and to withhold or impound some of it. There's an example of a tool, much like the Schedule F attempt that Mr. Vought talked about, that would broaden presidential authority, but I don't think unconstitutionally or beyond what is good democratic practice.
The spending side. I remember the speech you gave. I think it was at CPAC back in the run up to the 2012 cycle, talking about the Red Menace, and you weren't talking about Russia or China. You were talking about red ink, our debt. And so we were getting a lot of conversation. That's good. It's long overdue because of the Doge, because of Musk and Ramaswamy, and a lot of excitement about reducing the size and scope and expense of government. But it's mainly focused on personnel, focused on the administrative state, focused on perhaps eliminating vestigial agencies. But nobody still wants to talk about entitlements. And to address the debt concerns that you have, isn't that a prerequisite?
It is. Well, prerequisite. Let me say that the president has indicated he don't want to talk about it, and I was very disappointed that this last campaign, what I believe is the biggest issue we're going to face, and we cannot avoid, was off the table according to both candidates. However, I will say, you got to start somewhere, and one reason I have high hopes for their current effort is, particularly with if the Congress, a like-minded Congress, will support them. We need to see some breakthroughs that will begin to open people's eyes to what's possible and what will ultimately be necessary. Dan, I used to tell people as we were looking to trim government in Indiana, we did, by the way. When we left, we had the fewest state employees per capita in the country, and I used to say to people, "You'd be amazed how much government you'd never miss." So much of it has grown up, and it serves clients, the special interests of various kinds. The average citizen pays for it and benefits little or not at all. And so, I'm okay with them starting on the so-called discretionary side of the budget. There's so much that could be done there. And just to see, for instance, a Department of Education, if not if not eliminated, shrunk in a major way, which is clearly possible. And then and the sky would not fall.
Well, how much money would they save if they just eliminated, well, I may not completely, but reduce the staff by thousands of jobs? How much would that mean to the
okay, Amy. Only maybe you can hear the quotation marks. 10 or $20 billion. Granted, it is a smaller agency relatively. I remember when that was a lot of money. But it'd be less that than simply the object lesson of maybe just the muscle memory of learning how to do this. We're going to have to part with lots of the government we've built. If we don't do it, circumstances will, in a very, ham-handed, probably cataclysmic way one day. So we might well get started. And back to Dan's question, if they can make some progress there, both in terms of size and activity of government, and therefore some difference on the spending side, maybe then the country will turn its eyes to the much more massive problem. How are we going to keep our promises in the safety net programs? How are we going to save those programs from imploding?
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting approach. I mean, is that what you did in Indiana? I mean, I remember your sort of infamous, was it penny on the tire of every state vehicle example? But the idea was that's a way to start to change the culture, to do the little things that are easier to do as the opening to do the bigger things that are more difficult.
Yes, absolutely. And changing the culture is, which here I think means as much changing our culture as a country, which has tolerated the growth of the state, tolerated the spending and therefore the borrowing that's funding it for far too much for far too long. That's what I meant when I said an object lesson. And we need to start some momentum the other direction. And if it needs to start or can best start with relatively small things, I never thought I'd say a $100 billion agency was small, like the Department of Education is. But then that's not a bad approach. And if we can if that group can have some early successes in one or two areas, they'd probably lead to larger ones later.
And it just since you did it, I referenced it. But what did you do with the pennies on the tires?
Oh, that well, we had noticed competing as outsiders that among many other things, there seemed to be an incredible number of vehicles that the state owned. It turned out it was one for every 3 or 4 employees. And yes, a little SWAT team of some of our folks went around and put pennies in the state garage and put pennies on the left rear tires every car, and went back in a month. If the penny was still there, give us the keys.
Wow.
That's so great.
I remember I had fun playing auctioneer. We auctioned off the 1,000th car. It was only about 4 months into our administration, but that's not a bad example of it showed people that the problem was real and in a way they could understand, and that these other things we were doing might be necessary too.
So I take it you left with a budget surplus for the state?
We did. We left with a big one, and Amy, and by the way, we paid down over half the debt of the state. Wow. You know a little about state debt over in Illinois.
Yeah, not paying it off,
roll.
Though. Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't know anything about paying it off.
Right. And we left with a bill that says when those surpluses get beyond a certain point of safety, of clear safety, then automatically the balance goes back to the taxpayers per capita. So we think that it was a demonstration that you can run a railroad that way.
And are you optimistic about the new governor there, the former senator, soon to be former senator, now Governor Mike Braun?
I am. He's a business man. I know that helped me enormously to having had that long experience in business. He, I think, has the right instincts. He's trying to get some good people around him and sort of a new team. And Indiana's in good shape.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, thank you. Illinois continues to help in that respect. as you drive businesses and people away. But no, I mean, I think he's got a good platform to build from. But he's a builder, and I'm very hopeful about it.
One question, putting your former university president hat on, thinking about reforms at the federal level. What about the $1.7 billion student loan market, and thinking about perhaps maybe getting the federal government out of that business? I don't know that that's something that's Trump is supportive of. It's not something that's been discussed, but I mean, just thinking about structural reforms.
I think it is being discussed. People who are talking about dismantling or shrinking the Department of Education, many of them have said a major thing you do is get that disaster out of there. It's probably the single worst instance, and this is stiff competition, of federal government incompetence that we've seen. And that's a strong statement because there's so many of them. But, the federal student loan program was taken over under President Obama. They claimed it was going to be a money maker over time. Instead, it cost hundreds of billions of dollars. We know about the, vote buying plan, the vote buying attempts with the forgiveness of loans that they've attempted. And I think it's a very ripe candidate. If I were looking at it, I'd probably want to see about sending the whole thing, selling off that portfolio back to the private sector. Mm-hmm. But the idea I'm seeing in lots of places is move it over to Treasury, which is, after all, a bank already. The people at the Department of Ed have proven that they are very poorly equipped to operate that program.
When I think I said 1.6 billion, I meant $1.6 trillion student loan program. Yeah, exactly. Mitch Daniels, former governor of Indiana, of course, former university president. Mitch, thanks so much for joining us. And by the way, I know from my friend at Jim Sinclair at Old Florida, he says you're a pretty good stick, so we're going to have to play in the new year.
Yeah, you just want into my wallet, I know, and you'd probably get there, but that'd be that'd be fun.
Yes. Well, I'm buttering you up. There's no question. Governor Daniels, thanks. Thanks as always. Appreciate it.
Okay, bye.
Bye. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Listen to Dan and Amy on your smartphone. Download the AM 560 mobile app today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Paul Jenkins, owner of Bancroft Architects and Engineers, a service-disabled veteran-owned small business providing design solutions for clients, including the VA. When looking for a trusted banking partner, Bancroft was lucky to find that partner in Signature Bank in 2015. With Signature, personal service goes beyond a login and a PIN number. My staff and I have the comfort of knowing that we're dealing with real people who know our business and care about us as individuals. Signature helped finance our new state-of-the-art facility, and Bancroft looks forward to further expanding business opportunities for disabled veterans and historically disadvantaged communities.
Signature Bank is looking for their next success story. To learn more about turning your business vision into reality, visit signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
All right, 'tis the season for giving, and once again, our Food for the Poor campaign is well underway as we help to provide life-saving food to children in Latin America and the Caribbean.
During this season of economic decline, at least until Trump gets in, rising food costs, millions of children and their families are suffering. They simply don't know where their next meal will come from, which of course can lead to sickness, disease, and ultimately starvation. This is why we're partnering again this year with Food for the Poor, faith-based nonprofit relief organization that works directly with their partners on the ground in Latin America and the Caribbean to operate feeding centers. The relationship Food for the Poor has with locals ensures that the money we raise during this campaign is used efficiently to get food to children who need it the most.
And Food for the Poor has been doing this kind of work, as you well know, for 40 years in 17 countries around the world, and they have fed millions of people and children and provided more than $15 billion in aid. They are a reputable charity and transparent with how they raise and spend money. So we're asking for a one-time gift of $50. With that, you can feed one child for an entire year and get this, provide access to clean water for their entire community. For a gift of $200, you can feed 4 children for 1 year. That's the impact your gift can have. So to make a donation of any amount, $50, if $10 is all you could do this season, that is fine. Please just call this number, 844-862-4673. That's 844-862-4673, or visit 560theanswer.com/food for the poor.
And if you're a business owner, you make the marketing decision for a business, please consider becoming a business benefactor. We're doing that program again this year. We rely on donor leadership from the business community to hit our goals. So the way that program works, make a tax-deductible donation of $2,500 to Food for the Poor. AM 560 will give you 41-minute commercials to air on our airwaves, prime broadcast hours, Monday to Friday between 5 a.m. and 8 p.m. That's the best deal in all of Chicago radio from a marketing perspective, and at the same time, you'll be providing life-saving food for more than 50 children in Latin America or the Caribbean. To become a business benefactor, just call our sales manager, general sales manager. Her name is Ann Jeanette, and her number is 847-472-8951. Again, the Business Benefactor Program, Ann Jeanette is your contact, and the phone number is 847-472-8951. We thank you in advance.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
Going on 72 in July. I swim. I'm a swimmer. I play pickleball, and I play golf. And I have to say, Balance of Nature really, I feel like I could sing.
I like the product, and I'm telling a lot of people about it.
It's the best stuff in the world. It's good stuff.
Celebrate this season with Black Friday savings all month long. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 50% off your first preferred set with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. That's 1-800-246-8751. Don't miss out. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this exclusive Black Friday offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Did you know your life insurance is an asset you can sell? I'm Jay Jackson, CEO of Abacus Life. For almost 20 years, Abacus has been purchasing life insurance policies from seniors just like you. And at abacuspays.com, we've created a free policy value calculator so you can find out the worth of your policy in just seconds. There are no fees and no obligations. Get real value from your life insurance when you need it with Abacus. Learn more at abacuspays.com.
This is Carol Platt-Liebau for townhall.com. For the first time in 4 decades, Republicans are basking in the embrace of pop culture. Boxers and football players are doing the Trump dance. Leaning right is the new counterculture. It's fun for conservatives to swim in the mainstream, especially after having been marginalized by the left for so long. But Republicans will make a great mistake if they draw the wrong lessons from the 2024 elections. Republicans didn't win because a majority of voters signed on to their agenda. They won because the Biden-Harris administration was an utter, arrogant failure, and because Donald Trump is a unique and engaging pop culture figure who was able to capture key constituencies of working-class and minority voters. Republicans haven't yet cemented this new coalition. They can, but they'll need to enact policies that make these new voters' lives noticeably better. Let's get to work. I'm Carol Platt-Liebau.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Is the Biden administration trying to leave Trump World War III in Eastern Europe? We'll begin there with Cliff May, Foundation Defense of Democracies, 737.
But first, let's stop by that newsroom once again. Here's Mike Scott.
We have 42 degrees, gray skies. And in Israel this morning, troops have fought fierce battles with Hezbollah fighters in many areas right along the border in South Lebanon, including coastal towns close to the headquarters of UN peacekeepers. President-elect Donald Trump says Matt Gaetz has a wonderful future ahead of him after the former congressman withdrew his nomination for Attorney General. Missouri Senator Josh Hawley believes Pam Bondi, the next pick up, will reform the DOJ in a big way.
We need to overhaul DOJ and the FBI, and I think Pam Bondi will be up for that task, and I hope that she will pledge right now to work with Congress to lay it all out. Let the truth be known, to get it all out there, and let's overhaul these agencies.
Meantime, Pennsylvania Democrat Senator Bob Casey concedes to Republican Senator-elect David McCormick over 2 weeks after the election, following controversy in the Keystone State surrounding debate on whether or not to count some ballots with mistakes. Senator-elect McCormick tells Fox officials in his state were counting disqualified ballots.
You saw election officials in Bucks County in particular saying that they were going to knowingly violate the law, where the law is very clear. The Supreme Court ruled that a ballot doesn't count if there's not a signature, and yet they were counting the votes.
And news from the Supreme Court this morning. The court will release its first opinion of the term today at 9 a.m. Chicago time. The High Court heard 9 cases in October, including arguments over federal court jurisdiction of so-called ghost guns and the Oklahoma death penalty. The court is not signaling which case opinion or opinions will be released. 6 have been injured in an early morning apartment fire in the 4300 block of West Thomas in the city. There was a late evening fire that saw several West suburban departments rush to the scene of a blaze that severely damaged a home in St. Charles. Investigators with Fox River Fire Rescue say one person was killed in that fire. Blackhawks lost to the Panthers 3-1. Bulls take on Atlanta tonight. College football tomorrow. Couple of interesting games. Number 6 Notre Dame, number 19 Army at Yankee Stadium, while the Fighting Illini will visit Rutgers. Northwestern will visit Michigan Stadium tomorrow to take on the Wolverines. The news, a service of Team Hochberg. They've helped thousands of AM 560 listeners with the best rates and service. Let Team Hochberg help you by visiting 56david.com or call 855-563-2843. Lower.com equal housing lender and MLS 1124061. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
This week on The Hill is the best way to get informed on everything going on with Congress. Hosted by Tony Perkins and the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson.
When Republicans regain control, we're going to have the most aggressive first 100 days agenda that anybody's seen in a modern era. And we got to fix everything.
Stay informed and become a regular listener. This week on The Hill, Sundays at 1 on AM 560. The Answer.
Hey guys, Donald Trump Jr. here with urgent news. The world's central banks are making unprecedented moves, and it's time to pay attention. In 2022 and 2023, they bought more gold than ever before. And now in 2024, the trend is accelerating. Why? Because central banks have lost faith in the dollar. And in these uncertain times, gold is the ultimate safe haven. If you too are worried about the dollar, I urge you to take similar action by diversifying your IRA or 401k into gold with my trusted friends at Birch Gold Group. To see how it works, get your free info kit on gold IRAs by texting the word PROTECT to 989898. I trust Birch Gold. They provide an easy process to roll over your 401k or IRA into gold without losing your tax-advantaged status. So text PROTECT to 989898. That's PROTECT to the number 989898 to get your free info kit on gold IRAs from Birch Gold.
Message and data rates may apply. Wow. Are you buying or are you selling? As this is being written, silver is up more than 50% in just the past 8 months. And gold is the highest it's ever been. Whether you are just getting into the metals, want to roll your IRA into silver or gold, or want to take some profits off the table, Fox Valley Coins is ready, willing, and able to help. Even though Fox Valley Coins is a national dealer, they're family-owned and in your own backyard. Fox Valley Coins in Naperville almost always has the product you want in stock and pretty much always has the best pricing when you buy or sell. Buying or selling is easy. Bring your items in. We'll establish the price and pay you cash or check on the spot. Don't wait until the end of the year to move your assets around. Did you know that Fox Valley Coins has sold over 3,000 one-ounce silver Donald Trump coins? We have several designs, but they're going fast. Fox Valley Coins on Route 59 in Naperville. Family-owned integrity since 1981.
When you're hiring for your business, ZipRecruiter's powerful matching technology makes finding qualified candidates for your job easy. This made us wonder, what if the rest of the world was as easy as ZipRecruiter? Math problems wouldn't be so problematic.
K equals 42.
Escape rooms? Elementary. And summiting Everest would be a walk in the park. In the meantime, if you want to make your hiring easier, use ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Simple. So, see what the world is like when ZipRecruiter does the hard work of hiring for you. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/free to try ZipRecruiter for free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Need to hire quality candidates fast? You need Indeed. Our video interview tool makes it easy and effortless to meet with candidates. Visit Indeed.com/credit.
7:39. Let's get an update on the roads this Friday morning in the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, a service of Valdecast Windows for the discerning homeowner looking for high-quality and professional-level window replacement service. Contact Valdecast Windows, your award-winning Platinum Elite Pella-certified contractor, Valdecast.com. Kennedy, 1 hour, O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. The Ike right now inbound. If you're traveling in from Mannheim to the old post office is a 43-minute commute. Tri-State stop and go northbound right at Roosevelt Road. The Veterans jamming up northbound between Findlay and Roosevelt. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now, your official Chicagoland weather forecast. Cloudy and breezy, a little milder today with a high of 46. Clouds, then some clearing overnight, low 38, and cloudy most of the day tomorrow, high 45. It's 42 at O'Hare. Your next news update is at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Back in 2007, then Senator Big Guy was on with Chris Matthews when Matthews' leg was just starting to tingle. And the issue they were discussing was the prospect that George W. Bush would launch a military strike against Iran. And Joe Biden had very certain terms to use for George W. Bush, who would do such a thing without congressional approval. There would be consequences.
But I want to ask you about something you've been involved with. You said that if the President of the United States had launched an attack on Iran without congressional approval, that would have been an impeachable offense. Do you want to review that comment you made? Well, how do you stand on that now?
Yes,
do you think
I do. I want to stand by that comment I made. The reason I made the comment was as a warning. The reason I don't say those things lightly, Chris. You've known me for a long time. I was chairman of the Judiciary Committee for 17 years, or its ranking member. I teach separation of powers and constitutional law. This is something I know. So I got together and brought a group of constitutional scholars together to write a piece that I'm going to deliver to the whole United States Senate, pointing out the president has no constitutional authority to take this nation to war against a country of 70 million people unless we're attacked or unless there is proof that we are about to be attacked. And if he does, I would move to impeach him. The House obviously has to do that, but I would lead an effort to impeach him. The reason for my doing that, I don't say it lightly. I say it because they should understand that what they were threatening, what they were saying, what was adding up to be, what looked like to the rest of the world what we're about to do, would be the most disastrous thing that could be done at this moment in our history that I can think of.
Just not even addressing the substance of Joe Biden, just the precedent of Joe Biden's statement there. So is that what Joe Biden has now done when he green-lighted Zelensky to use American missiles for strikes inside of Russia? Has he now done what he said he would lead the impeachment against George W. Bush for? For more on this and other geopolitical matters, Cliff May, president of the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies and foreign affairs columnist for the Washington Times, joins us. Cliff, thanks for being with us.
Good morning. Always good to be with you guys.
So, Joe Biden from 2007, would that Joe Biden agree with the Joe Biden of 2024?
Boy, he sounds rather different, doesn't he? And he wasn't reading from a teleprompter. He probably wouldn't. And you know, you guys, we agree on most things. I'm going to make my case because I don't think you agree with me on this, and let me make my case. My case is this: that Ukraine is an independent, sovereign nation. It's a nation that is a friend of the United States. It's fledgling democracy. It's had free elections. I've been an election observer for that. Freedom of religion. I was there as a commissioner on the U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom. And we are allowed to give weapons to another free and independent country. We can put restrictions if we want on how those weapons are used, or we can say, you defend yourself any way you want to if you are being attacked by an invader, an aggressor, somebody who's trying to conquer you, someone who's trying to destroy your nation, your independence, your freedom, somebody who is rocketing your infrastructure because they want you to freeze in the winter. You can do what you want to defend yourself. We can or we cannot decide that we're going to help in other ways. We have not been asked, and we're not sending troops on the ground. We are sending munitions. Meanwhile, Putin has been getting munitions from, not least, from North Korea, and he's got 10,000 soldiers he's bringing in and saying, I have more soldiers, I'm going to use them to kill and slaughter Ukrainians. We can do what we want to do, or not do what we want to do. We can let Ukraine go and let him conquer it. I'm going to tell you, as somebody who studied the Soviet Union and Russia for more than half a century, that if Putin wins in Ukraine, he goes on from there. And you can say, well, what are we going to do? We're going to give weapons now to Lithuania and let them kill Russians? We're going to give weapons to Poland and let them kill Russians? You can go back to, there was a saying years ago, I don't know if you're old enough to remember it, hey, better red than dead. In other words, if they want to threaten us, we're going to back down. And I got to tell you, if we back down here and say, well, Putin tells us how we use our weapons, Putin tells us what the rules are, then, and because he's got nuclear weapons, well, China has nuclear weapons too. So what are we going to do about Taiwan? Nothing. What are we going to do when North Korea says we're taking over South Korea? We're unifying the peninsula. Nothing. This is a road we should think carefully about before we walk down.
What's your reaction to Putin, for the first time, I believe, in history, firing a non-nuclear ICBM as, at least at minimum, a show of force?
He's threatening us. He's trying to scare us. Absolutely what he's trying to do. Look, the reason he went in the way he did into Ukraine was because a few months earlier, he saw Joe Biden capitulate, surrender, run from the Taliban. He said, oh, my God, if these guys run from the Taliban doesn't have nuclear weapons. They don't have ICBMs. They don't have an air force. They don't have a navy. If Biden and the Americans are going to run from them, I don't think I have much to worry about. I can do what I want to do. And what I want to do is restore the Russian Empire, which for a few decades was rebranded as the Soviet Empire, the Soviet Union. And I want to take back what I think is mine. And what's mine is Ukraine. What's mine, Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Moldova, Poland. I mean, I want it all back. And I don't think the Americans are going to stand up to me because they're very, very frightened. And I'm going to show I can frighten them. They can't frighten me. That's the way it's going to be. And Xi Jinping will see this, and he'll know what that means. And others in what I call the axis of aggressors, which is Beijing, Moscow, Pyongyang, Tehran, increasingly Caracas, Havana. You now have Brazil flirting with Xi Jinping. They're going to all understand America is over the hill. America is done. America's never going to be great again. They're frightened. They just worry about their 401ks. That's all they're worried about. This is not America's century. This is the century for.
And so, I mean, the hyperventilating that's going on about Biden is trying to leave Trump World War III in Eastern Europe. I mean, I think it, by my characterization of hyperventilating, I think it's a bit overstated myself. But there have been recent changes to their respective nuclear doctrines by both Russia and China, prompting DOD to report to Congress, to submit a report to Congress to enhance its nuclear deterrence and flexibility when it comes to addressing the changes that have been made by a couple of those members of the axis of aggressors that you described. So what's your sense of whether or not the threat level has significantly increased in terms of expansion of the war?
Threat level, we are in a Cold War, and it's a more challenging Cold War than the first one, because the first one was against only the Soviet Union. As we said, this Cold War is against a very powerful Axis. And the threat level is also increasing because as the Chinese, for example, build up their military forces at a very fast rate, which they are, not least their Navy. And over the past 4 years, our military has weakened, has diminished. Our Navy is not what it should be. The threat level is going to continue to increase. I don't know what Biden is thinking. That's very hard to say. But I'm not sure this is not a good thing for Trump, because if Trump wants to solve this, I don't want to say solve it diplomatically, but bring it to kind of resolution, how does he do that? He doesn't do that by saying, "Oh, come on, Vladimir, be nice to me." That's not how it works. He can say, "Look, you got a choice. I'm putting a deal on the table. This is what you get." Just hypothetically, okay? You get Crimea. I know that's important to you. That's the Black Sea free. After you get Crimea, I'm not going to argue with you. I'm not saying I'm going to recognize it, but that'll be done. Maybe you get, I don't know, not 18% of Ukraine, but 10%. And after that, I'm going to build up Ukraine's military, because I get to do that. I'm a free nation. It's a free nation, so you're not going to want to do this again. And we'll talk about what's going to happen with the EU. We can talk about what's going to happen with NATO. But that's it. Now, if you don't accept what I'm putting on the table for you, if you say, "No, that's not it. I need all of Ukraine, or I need 50%, or I need Kyiv, or I need them to be disarmed," anything else you say, Vladimir, then I'm going to really ramp up, and you're going to hurt. We're going to seriously hurt. I got a carrot and I got a stick. You choose what you want. What you don't do is what too many of our diplomats do, what I would say Biden has done with, for example, the Iranians, and say, "We got no stick. Well, we got lots of carrots. Take some of our carrots, please, and then be nice to us. Please, then be nice. We can appease you, can't we? We can accommodate you, can't we? We can respect your equities," as Obama would say. So we'll let you have Syria. We'll let you have Lebanon. We'll let you have Yemen. And then maybe you'll stop there, right? And they say, "Whatever you say, but we'll do what we want to do because we know who you are, and we know you represent no threat to us. You think we represent a threat to you. We get how this works. You don't."
Yeah, but my I don't know, my perspective on what Biden is doing, it's like they're doing the same old things, and the same old things that sort of these phony internationalists always do, and particularly coming from the left. It's we got a problem, continue throwing money at it, forgive $4.5 billion of loans, throw money at it. Anthony Blinken will scrape up every last dollar we can find and ship it off to Ukraine before January 20th. We throw money at problems. That's what the left does. And then we'll continue to provide munitions because we have to keep up appearances so that when Trump comes in and he does negotiate some sort of, or facilitate at least some sort of cessation of hostilities, then the Biden team can claim credit for, he was just, spiking the setup that we provided.
Look, I'm not going to try to psychoanalyze Biden at this point. But there can be no settlement unless Putin feels that there is a threat as well as an attempt to appease him. I think that you understand. I think everybody on the right has to understand that. As for money, we're not sending checks over there. We're not sending pallets of cash over there. We're sending old munitions, and we're making new munitions, and that is absolutely vital, because one thing Ukraine has done for us, two things actually. One thing is waking us up to the fact that our military-industrial base is sclerotic and old and tiny, and we can't build the weapons we need even for ourselves, and we need to increase the military-industrial base. It has been a little bit, not nearly what it should be, and what I hope it will be under the Trump administration. And we need, as we can be an arsenal of democracy if we want to be. You don't want to be the arsenal of democracy. You want to say, yeah, I don't care what happens anywhere else in the world. I don't care what happens to our allies. Well, we should have the ability to be the arsenal of democracy. And and the other thing we're doing is for less than 3%. Understand this: less than 3% of our defense budget, we have done tremendous damage to the military of one of our major adversaries. That's a favor Ukraine has done for us.
Cliff, May, I just wanted to quickly move to the border and some issues that are happening now. Fox News showing a caravan of close to 2,000 people heading our way right now. And this is happening while Biden is loosening the rules to allow illegals to skip the ICE check-in process. So is he trying to get Trump on the way out here in the last 60 days?
He's trying to do what Democrats have been trying to do for a very long time, which is bring in new Americans, bring in new voters who they believe will vote Democratic. Right now, you cannot run as a Republican and win in Washington, D.C., in Chicago, in New York City. You can't run as a Republican and win in the state of California. I didn't always believe this. I do now. I think the left wing of the Democratic Party, they love one-party cities, one-party states, and they're like a one-party country. And they believe, what's more, that this is a bad country. We stole this land. We have anybody, a Venezuelan gang member has as much right to live in Chicago as you do. That's what the left wing believes. And the left wing pretty much, and I'm sorry to say, it's not true of everybody, but it steers the Democratic Party more than anyone else. You see very few Democrats standing up and saying, we need secure borders, because every country needs secure borders. And if we don't have a flag and a secure border, we're not really a country. And we cannot allow anybody to come here and then say, and of course we give them all the benefits of the welfare system. We're humanists, but we will break the back of the welfare system. But that's what you've been hearing. And you've been hearing it in places like, well, from your mayor in Chicago. It's one of those we've been hearing it from, if I'm reading it correctly.
What would you advise Trump to say and do with respect to the International Criminal Court after the arrest warrant they issued for Benjamin Netanyahu?
Do what you did last time. Sanction the prosecutor, Karim Khan, sanction anybody in that court, and also tell the American allies who are supporting that court, A, you stop giving money to that court or our relations will deteriorate. We will likely sanction you. And tell somebody like Justin Trudeau, I don't think that Benjamin Netanyahu is coming to spend a vacation in Canada, but if he were to come and you were to arrest him, we'll withdraw our ambassador. We, the U.S., do not belong to the International Criminal Court. The Israelis do not belong to that criminal court. It has no jurisdiction or authority. The criminal court is set up by a treaty. We're not members of that treaty. Israel isn't. There's no authority for them to do what they're doing. And it is dreadful that our allies are supporting that court, just as our allies supported a UN Security Council resolution. France did it, Britain did, and it was up to the U.S. to veto it. And it was a resolution that said, essentially, the Israelis have to stop fighting. And as the hostages, we sure hope Hamas will let them go one of these days. That would be nice, wouldn't it? China and Russia vote together on the Security Council, always. The U.S. should have the support of Britain and France. And this is where I get pushed more into isolation. If our allies don't stand with us, what the hell are we doing standing with them? And so Trump has been absolutely right to say, for example, in regard to NATO, you guys have to, I want to make sure that you guys are pulling the wagon, not riding the wagon. Just understand, you really threaten this relationship if you don't do your part. Not least in Ukraine, by the way. Germany, France, Italy, Britain has done fairly well. You guys have to take the lead here. Lots we can do, lots only we can do, but you guys, this is Europe. We're supporters of Europe. We want to see free nations Europe. We don't want to see it overcome again by totalitarian dictators, as it was during World War II, as it was during the Cold War. We don't want to see that, but you have to take the lead. We help make you strong. Now you do your part. Again, some of Poland is, and the Balkans, they're the Baltic nations. They really are working hard on it, but they have to do their part as well. And what Trump should be saying is, let me give you a quick story. I went to the dinner with a German. I'll tell you the truth. The German ambassador and the second highest person in the German Foreign Service, but I was there. Almost all the other think tankers were real liberal, and they're all kind of doing psychoanalysis. What do we have to say to Trump? Do we have to flatter Trump? I said, guys, you don't have to do any of that. You have to show that you're a good ally, that you're contributing to the collective security. You know what he wants. He wants to see that you are not just an obligation for us, but that you are that having you as an ally is a great asset. You prove that, and that's all you have to do. Stop trying to be silent psychologists.
Cliff May, president of the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies, foreign affairs columnist for the Washington Times. Cliff, thanks as always.
Always a pleasure to be with you. Thank you.
Thank you, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
It's what Chicago is talking about. It's Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy on AM 560. The Answer.
When you're hiring for your business, ZipRecruiter's powerful matching technology makes finding qualified candidates for your job easy. This made us wonder, what if the rest of the world was as easy as ZipRecruiter? Math problems wouldn't be so problematic.
K equals 42.
Escape rooms? Elementary. And summiting Everest would be a walk in the park. In the meantime, if you want to make your hiring easier, use ZipRecruiter. And right now you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Simple. So, see what the world is like when ZipRecruiter does the hard work of hiring for you. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/free to try ZipRecruiter for free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 8:08, we'll talk to crypto enthusiast, founder and CEO of Professional Capital, Anthony Pompliano. We'll talk Bitcoin and crypto at 8:08.
And he has a new book. It is now 8 a.m. WIND Chicago.
She's his second choice for Attorney General. I'm Dave Anthony. Fox News President-elect Trump has nominated Pam Bondi, Florida's former Attorney General, hours after Matt Gaetz withdrew from consideration. Bondi was also a Trump lawyer in his first impeachment case. In a post, the former president wrote,
Pam will refocus the DOJ to its intended purpose of fighting crime and making America safe again. I've known Pam for many years. She's smart. She's tough.
Fox's Alexis McAdams near the Trump estate in West Palm Beach, Florida.
Trump is trying to shake things up. That's what he was trying to do with Matt Gaetz, right? But it didn't work. There was just too much controversy.
Democrats continue to push to get a House ethics report released investigating Gaetz' sexual misconduct and drug abuse allegations.
House Speaker Mike Johnson has argued that since Gaetz is no longer a member of Congress, the committee no longer has jurisdiction, so the report shouldn't be released. Gaetz has not yet announced if he will return to the House for the next Congress starting in January. His resignation only affected the current term and does not cover the fact that Gaetz was reelected in his district.
That's Fox's Ryan Schmel. Speaking of the next Congress, after a recount in Pennsylvania, Democratic Senator Bob Casey has conceded defeat to Dave McCormick.
We're excited to have this resolved finally. Yeah, mathematically, it was clear from Election Day on that the election was over.
And McCormick also tells Fox,
we need to step back and look what happened in this election and make sure it doesn't happen again.
Referring to officials in some counties violating a state law and court order by counting disputed ballots that don't meet qualifications. McCormick's win in Pennsylvania gives Republicans a 53-47 Senate majority for the next Congress. Some people in the Northeast woke up to snow on the ground, and more is forecast with winter storm warnings up from West Virginia up to upstate New York.
A lot of snow, folks, because this is an all-day event, but also it does linger into Saturday because this low is kind of doing a dance over the Northeast, not really moving too much.
Fox Weather's Britta Merwin. There's also heavy snow in Northern California, record rain in Oregon and Washington State, where nearly 200,000 power outages exist. America's listening to Fox News.
We had snow here, and it was no big deal. 8:02 on AM 560, The Answer. Good morning. Here in Chicago, I'm Mike Scott. We had about 2.6 inches of snow at Midway, 2.9 at O'Hare, 4.2 inches in Wakanda. 6 have been injured in an early morning apartment fire in the 4300 block of West Thomas. Chicago Fire responded at that point and are cleaning up the scene. There was a late evening fire that saw several West suburban fire departments rush to the scene of a blaze that severely damaged a dwelling in St. Charles. One person was killed. An issue at the state level could cause Chicago's already huge budget gap to grow even more. It was a tax on prepaid phone and calling cards that was set to go into effect January 1st. However, state legislators in the General Assembly delayed the start in order to account for major issues with implementation. Now, that delay could cost the city another $40 million next year. Former Chicago Alderman Danny Solis, taking his turn as a key witness in the Mike Madigan racketeering trial, he took the stand yesterday and will be back at the Dirksen Federal Building on Monday. Blackhawks beat Florida 3-1. Bulls take on the Hawks later on tonight. The news, a service of the Del Bacchio Marchetti Group of ad properties, Christie's International Real Estate, experts in the northwest suburbs and Chicago with over $800 million in sales. Call 708-828-0000. 803. Time for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank. Visit signaturebank.bank for all your commercial banking needs. Now the latest from the Fox Business Network.
I'm Elizabeth McDonald, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Regulators in Europe have closed their investigation into how Apple handles rival audiobook developers in its App Store. The European Commission says a rival developer withdrew its complaint against Apple, though regulators say closing the investigation isn't a finding that Apple's conduct complies with EU competition rules. It will continue to monitor business practices. PepsiCo will buy out the owners of the Sabra and Obela dip and spread brands from Israeli food maker Strauss Group. The two companies have been operating a joint venture. Buckle is reporting a mixed quarter. The company sells trendy clothing, accessories, and shoes. Its earnings were lower, and sales in stores declined, though online shopping increased more than 1%. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Ginny Cosola, invested in you.
804 and a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
German pastor Dietrich Bonhoeffer joined a deadly plot to assassinate Adolf Hitler during World War II. And now his story of risking his life to save others is coming to theaters November 22nd. Win a trip to New York to meet Bonhoeffer scholar Eric Metaxas and see a Broadway show by entering today at 560theanswer.com/NYC. That's 560theanswer.com/NYC. And get your tickets today to see Bonhoeffer, Pastor, Spy, Assassin in theaters November 22nd.
Are you looking for a trustworthy garage to keep your Dodge Ram 45 or 5500 Cummins engine in tip-top shape? Look no further than Remke's Garage in Marengo. At Remke's Garage, their experienced team treats every car like it's their own. Plus, they believe in transparency, no surprises, just honest service and fair pricing. Check out the incredible reviews that satisfied customers have left on Google as they speak for themselves. With state-of-the-art equipment and a commitment to quality, they're proud to be your local choice for automotive care. And here's the best part, they offer free pickup and drop-off for your convenience. Both individually owned and fleet vehicle programs available to meet your needs. So why wait? Swing by Remke's Garage today and let them get you back on the road with confidence. Visit Remke'sGarage.com. Remke's Garage, repairing America. Amy Jacobson and Dan Proft here, and we want to tell you about our 2024 Food for the Poor campaign.
If you've listened to the station and to our show for any length of time, then you already know about Food for the Poor. They are a nonprofit, faith-based organization that provides food, water, medicine, clothing, and life-saving supplies directly to local partners in Latin America and the Caribbean.
We all know how bad the situation is right now in Latin America and the Caribbean.
For many families, the cost of food has simply become prohibitive, leading to sickness and starvation.
The only thing standing between these families and starvation is Food for the Poor. But in order to get this food to those who need it most, Food for the Poor needs your help. Your one-time gift of just $50 can provide life-saving food for a child for an entire year and provide their community with access to water.
To give a gift of any amount, just call 844-862-4673. That's 844-862-4673.
Or you can visit 560theanswer.com/foodforthepoor or just click on the Give Life banner.
Hey guys, Donald Trump Jr. here with urgent news. The world's central banks are making unprecedented moves, and it's time to pay attention. In 2022 and 2023, they bought more gold than ever before. And now in 2024, the trend is accelerating. Why? Because central banks have lost faith in the dollar, and in these uncertain times, gold is the ultimate safe haven. If you too are worried about the dollar, I urge you to take similar action by diversifying your IRA or 401k into gold with my trusted friends at Birch Gold Group.
To see how it works, get your free info kit on gold IRAs by texting the word PROTECT to 989898. I trust Birch Gold. They provide an easy process to roll over your 401k or IRA into gold without losing your tax-advantaged status. So text PROTECT to 989898. That's PROTECT to the number 989898 to get your free info kit on gold IRAs from Birch Gold.
Message and data rates may apply.
It is 8:08. Let's get an update on the roads now. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. On the inbound Kennedy, a full hour now. O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. The Ike, 1 hour, 390 into the old post office. Stevenson outbound, your jammed up Chinatown feeder to the Dan Ryan merge. Bishop Ford jamming into the Ryan merge this morning. And delays in Wooddale, an accident busing in Bryn Mawr and in Bloomingdale, Glen Ellen Road and Regency. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Your official Chicagoland weather forecast. Let's get the latest with AccuWeather's Steve Williams.
Clouds and breezy, a little bit milder today, the high 46. Low clouds, then some clearing late tonight, low 38. Cloudy day tomorrow, the high 45. And then clouds and not as cool on Sunday, the high Sunday 55. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
42 and clouds at O'Hare. Next news at 8:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. You know, I'm never one to count anybody else's money. Make all the money you can make. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
But I think some of these crypto guys do have too much money.
Really? Should they share it with us?
I'm saying that because a crypto guy named Justin Sun bought that banana duct tape to a wall for $6.2 million in a Sotheby's auction yesterday.
Here it is in all its splendor. We're going to begin at $800,000. $800,000. $850,000 now. $850,000, $900,000. Thank you, sir. $1,100,000 is your bid, sir. $1,200,000. $1,300,000. $1,400,000. $1,500,000.
We are looking at an ordinary banana and an ordinary piece of duct tape. However, what makes the ordinary extraordinary is the intention of the artist who put this together.
Intention was to fleece our dilettantes in the art community.
So looking for four, there it is, $4 million. Say five, please. $5 million. Don't let it slip away. $5,100,000.
So exciting.
The world's most expensive banana at $5,200,000. It's slipping through the auction room at $5,200,000, and I'm going to sell it here. Fair warning, at $5,200,000. The Catalan is yours. Congratulations. Thank you very much indeed. Paddle number 17.
Yeah, and it goes to 6.2 when you include all the auction house fees. But anyway, Mauricio Catalan's Comedian is the title of this work of experiential art. And what did Justin Sun say he's going to do?
What?
Well, first of all, he says it's a cultural phenomenon that bridges the worlds of art, memes, and the cryptocurrency community. Okay. Boy, you're really reading a lot into that banana. But anyway.
Where is he going to place this banana?
He plans to, quote, personally eat the banana as part of this unique artistic experience, honoring its place in both art history and pop culture, and I might add, his stomach. $6.2 million to eat a banana. Okay.
I hope it's not mealy.
On a more serious crypto note, it's just a wild story. Trump is apparently making good on what he discussed during the campaign, which is to set up a Bitcoin strategic reserve. He's reportedly set up an advisory council that includes Coinbase and Ripple, and he plans to stack Bitcoins into plans to develop a Bitcoin strategic reserve, swapping some central treasury gold for digital gold. The importance of that, well, we're pleased to have somebody who's an expert in the field on that and has called for a $250 billion strategic reserve of Bitcoin. He is Anthony Pompliano. He's founder and CEO of Professional Capital Management. His Substack is the Pomp Letter, P-O-M-P, the Pomp Letter, pomp.substack.com. He's also the author of the book, How to Live an Extraordinary Life. Anthony Pompliano, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me, guys.
You weren't one of those other 5 people bidding on that banana and duct tape, were you?
No, I will leave the bananas for those people who understand why it's worth $6 million.
Okay, very good. So the importance of the Bitcoin strategic reserve and you, as I said, pegged at $250 billion would be a good start.
Yeah, my general thought process is $250 billion obviously sounds like a lot of money, but we have seen the national debt now cross over $36 trillion. The government has printed about $10 billion per day. It's like 860 billion in the last 90 days. And so we're printing the money. Rather than spend it on whatever nonsense we already are, why don't we go ahead and invest in the future and buy Bitcoin? And so whether we actually print $250 billion to buy Bitcoin or we sell $250 billion worth of gold, I think the real kind of goal here is to get Bitcoin into a strategic reserve for the United States and then allow the United States just to wait. And that'll end up being pretty good, I think.
But I mean, does that in some respects sort of run counter to part of the philosophy by Bitcoin in the first place, which is to be sort of to transcend the state, if you will?
Yeah, one of the beautiful things about Bitcoin is that no matter how much somebody owns, they still don't control the network. You know, if you think of in the traditional financial system, kind of whoever the richest people are, they set the rules. In Bitcoin, you can own, 50% of all the coins that are out there, and you don't have any more power over the network than you or I do. And so the amount that is owned by somebody doesn't really matter in terms of that control. Now, one thing I will say is there's a lot of people who bought Bitcoin because they like the fact that it was outside of the system. And the more that is bought by financial organizations, countries, et cetera, that changes a little bit. But the control of it is still outside the system, which I think is important. And the last point I would say is that countries are already buying. El Salvador has already bought quite a bit of Bitcoin. The country of Bhutan, which I always joke no one can spell or point out in the map, they now have over $1 billion of Bitcoin on their balance sheets, about $1,500 per capita. And so, these countries, they're small. They have the ability to do it because they're not really rocking the boat of a large economy. But I think that the United States has always been a leader in innovation and financial technology, and we should go ahead and do this.
Well, how important was it to the future of Bitcoin to have a pro-crypto president be elected?
Well, it's something that Bitcoiners have talked about for a long time. I used to always say that a Bitcoiner one day will be the president, not because they're going to run on Bitcoin as a campaign topic, but because everyone's going to own Bitcoin just like they own stocks, bonds, real estate, et cetera. And so, we don't talk about the fact that there's a public equity investor in the White House right now in Joe Biden, but he owns stocks. And that was my thought process. I think that President Trump surprised a lot of people by actually making Bitcoin a campaign topic, and he ran as the first pro-Bitcoin candidate. And the market believes him, right? The market is going up because they think that he is going to, in his words, protect Bitcoin and protect the right for people to self-custody Bitcoin. And so if you put somebody in office who cares about the stock market, as Trump appears to kind of measure success of the economy based on the stock market's going to go up. If you put somebody in there who says that they are pro-Bitcoin, it's likely that Bitcoin's going to do pretty good, and so I don't think we should be surprised by the results.
Should it be a basket of cryptocurrencies in a strategic reserves, or just mainly Bitcoin? I say that because I'm a novice here in terms of cryptocurrency, but you just see a lot of chatter about whether or not people believe that ultimately Bitcoin will be the preeminent cryptocurrency as the market develops.
Yeah, it's a fair question to ask. I think that with the invention of blockchain technology, there really was two revolutions that were kicked off. One was a monetary revolution. There seems to be two different components there. One is a store of value asset. Bitcoin is by far the leader. I think that even people who don't like Bitcoin kind of all agree that objectively it is the only and the largest in that category. There's another asset, a stable coin, which is just the dollar on a blockchain. That also comes out of that monetary revolution. We already have a lot of dollars, and so I don't think we need to put stable coins in the reserve. And then there's kind of a second part. So the monetary revolution is one, but then we have a technology revolution. And these are all of the other coins. And these other coins are no different than Amazon, Google, Facebook, et cetera. They all kind of have their different product or service they're bringing to the market, but they're not trying to be a store of value. They are ultimately trying to compete from a technological innovation standpoint. And so the United States is not in the business of trying to pick winners and losers in tech stocks. I think that the United States, if you look at the reserves today, they are in the business of holding store value assets. And, gold has been that for a very long time. I think gold will continue to be a store of value into the future. But I do think that Bitcoin now has entered the conversation as a viable store of value. And so, other countries are choosing to do it. I think that the United States should as well. But I don't think that we should go beyond Bitcoin for that strategic reserve.
I read that you started acquiring Bitcoin in 2017, and I wonder what first attracted it to you. Was it the technology or the monetary piece?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people, I think, that they kind of lie to themselves. And in hindsight, they want to say that they showed up because of some, ethos or some technology interest, et cetera. But 95+% of people I know who participate in financial markets, they get interested in something because they think they can make money.
Right.
That's how capitalist system works, right? Is there's economic incentives and people risk capital in order to be able to go and get that return. Now, what's interesting about Bitcoin, and has been true for me, is although I showed up because I thought that there was the ability to make money, you begin to learn about technology, you begin to learn about geopolitics, you begin to learn about the history of money, and so it's brought me on this very interesting journey of learning. But Bitcoin does not have a corporation. It does not have a management team. There's no marketing department for Bitcoin, and so one of the things that people realize over time is that Bitcoin's price going up is the marketing campaign, right? If you think Bitcoin is going up, you guys are talking about it. The more that happens in the news, the more that people, spread word of mouth, more and more people learn about Bitcoin. And so it's a very fascinating piece of technology. And also I think there's a kind of a human kind of adoption story that we're just starting to understand now of how something with, no coordinated centralized team behind it could end up in the hands of hundreds of millions of people today.
Do you believe that Bitcoin will be something that we do business in a substantial way in the Western world in, the foreseeable future?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think that one of the promises of Bitcoin, literally written into the white paper back in 2008, is this idea that Bitcoin would be peer-to-peer electronic cash. And really the idea is, hey, we're going to use this for transactions, kind of the proverbial, can I buy coffee with Bitcoin? You can do it. Not a lot of people do it, though. And so one of the reasons that I am very much a proponent of Bitcoin being a store of value is that if Bitcoin just becomes a store of value, it is likely to be much, much more valuable than today. There's very few digital products that are not worth more than their analog version. And so if you think of Bitcoin as digital gold, gold is 10x bigger than Bitcoin today. I think that will flip over time. I think that Bitcoin will eventually be bigger than gold. And so if you go back to this idea of using Bitcoin as a medium of exchange, it doesn't make a lot of sense for you to spend Bitcoin that is going to be worth more in the future. The reason why people spend dollars is because the dollar is going to be worth less in the future. And then you add in the fact that in the United States, we treat Bitcoin from a tax standpoint as if you are selling property every time you spend it. So if you go to dinner tonight and you buy your dinner with Bitcoin, you've got to pay for the meal, you pay for the taxes, you tip the waiter, but then you also have to pay capital gains on the Bitcoin that you spent. And so from a tax standpoint, there's disincentivization to not spend your Bitcoin. And so I think that really just being a store of value is probably, a pretty good outcome, and also would lead to a lot more value accretion over time.
All right. The name of your book is How to Live an Extraordinary Life. Other than accumulating Bitcoin in 2017, which we can't do anymore. How do you live an extraordinary life? What's your philosophy?
Yeah, it's interesting writing a book like this because you're giving advice and there's no one-size-fits-all. So the first point is just an extraordinary life is different for every individual. What your version is different than mine, and I think just having clarity around what is your version of an extraordinary life is an exercise most people don't go through, but they should. And then the second thing is I wrote 65 letters to my kids of all the life lessons I've learned over the years, but the through line or kind of the commonality across all these letters is that people have agency. And we live in a society where there's a lot of folks who are constantly telling you that, you're a victim, the world happens to you, just sit back and kind of just take the cards that you're dealt. But every successful and happy person that I know understands that they have agency, they act on the world, their outcomes are decided by the decisions that they make. And so once you understand that you have agency, it then puts you in a situation where you're kind of in control and you can go and act on the world and hopefully achieve whatever it is that you're seeking.
Well said. Anthony Pompliano, founder and CEO of Professional Capital Management. His Substack, The Pomp Letter, at pomp.substack.com. And the book we were just discussing, How to Live an Extraordinary Life. Anthony Pompliano, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Connect with Dan and Amy using the AM 560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
Hey guys, Donald Trump Jr. here with urgent news. The world's central banks are making unprecedented moves, and it's time to pay attention. In 2022 and 2023, they bought more gold than ever before. And now in 2024, the trend is accelerating. Why? Because central banks have lost faith in the dollar. And in these uncertain times, gold is the ultimate safe haven. If you too are worried about the dollar, I urge you to take similar action by diversifying your IRA or 401k into gold with my trusted friends at Birch Gold Group.
To see how it works, get your free info kit on gold IRAs by texting the word PROTECT to 989898. I trust Birch Gold. They provide an easy process to roll over your 401k or IRA into gold without losing your tax-advantaged status. So text PROTECT to 989898. That's PROTECT to the number 989898 to get your free info kit on gold IRAs from Birch Gold.
Message and data rates may apply.
At Signature Bank, going the distance for business banking customers is what we do every day. We understand that business owners have a strategic mission, a drive to succeed, a plan for growth, and don't have time to wait for a bank to respond. With Signature Bank, you not only have a banking partner that has roots right here in Chicago, but our decisions are made locally too. Signature Bank knows that when you have a question or problem about your business, you want answers. You need someone who will pick up the phone or respond to your text. You need someone who is always there for you. That's Signature Bank. We are a team that wants to get to know you and your business. Want to be Signature Bank's next success story? Give us a call today at 773-467-5630 or visit us online at signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC Equal Housing Lender.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors, a third-generation family-owned business since 1969. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows or doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we have been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows, a fifth-generation family business. Marvin replacement windows have been known to increase the warmth of your cold rooms by 10 degrees. Think about that, 10 degrees warmer. When you welcome Woodland into your home, you will get a product expert to transform your living spaces, full-time, dedicated professional installers that you can trust in your home, along with the best products like Marvin. These are the reasons we're proud of our 5-star reviews and family legacy. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing are why Woodland Windows and Doors is your trusted window and door expert in Chicagoland. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your free in-home expert consultation. That's woodlandwindows.com or stop by our showroom at the corner of Lake and Geary in Roselle.
AM 560, The Answer.
Open mic! Open mic Friday! Call in now! Open mic Friday!
Yes, it's that time of the week. Open Mic Friday. Taking your calls. 312-642-5600. Turnkey.pro answer line. We'll take your comments, your concerns, your compliments, your criticisms, your general crack pottery. We'll take it all. But first, we start with Turnkey.pro founder David Kolsek, as we always do. David?
Good morning, Dan and Amy. I find it very interesting to see that we've got LeBron James removing himself from all forms of social media. You've also got Richard Gere moving to Europe. I also find it amusing to see that Ellen DeGeneres and her wife, Portia de Rossi, have announced they've moved to the UK because they can't stand the thought of living through another Trump presidency.
Nope.
They would have you all think it's everything to do with Trump, but I can assure you that the common denominator here is P. Diddy. You can find some appearances of P. Diddy on the Ellen Show, which incidentally has the same set backdrop as the blue and white temple on Epstein Island. Look that one up. That one's true.
Oh, boy.
She might have been a visitor.
That's all right. I'm going to get the push pins and the string out so I can connect all these dots. All right, go ahead.
You should. Ellen even tweeted on Diddy's birthday in 2016. Happy birthday, P. Diddy, Puff Daddy, Sean Combs, or as I call him, Cuddle McSnuggle Stuff. You don't even need to know why. So my take here is that Ellen is not running from Trump. She's running from the law. But I expect you're going to see more of this. You know, the underpinning of evil with all these people knows no bounds. And I hope it's all disclosed. So I think we're in a spot in the world where we're in more peril than we were during the Bay of Pigs in 1962. The fact is that this lame duck administration is leading the charge to start World War III by allowing Ukraine to use our missiles in the interior of Russia. The UK is also allowing the use of their missiles, too. The type of missile they use for this bombing from the U.S. uses geospatial and weather monitoring technology that requires a continuous uplink to U.S. targeting systems and NATO-based guidance systems. The launch procedure requires the entry of classified U.S. missile launch codes. Does anyone think that we would give those codes to Ukrainian operators in the middle of a war zone with tight Russian surveillance? Let's be clear. Ukraine did not attack Russia. Never in my life have I ever seen something so reckless happen during a president's departure. Talk about leaving your successor with some problems. The problem is that Putin has openly stated that Moscow could unleash a nuclear strike if subject to an attack by a non-nuclear country that has the support of a nuclear state. That would be us. And the thing is that Putin's very concerned about how he's perceived by the Russian people. He wants to be popular. He wants to be strong. And if Putin can't hide the attacks in the interior of Russia by Ukraine, he's going to have no choice but to show strength and respond in a big way. He almost has to. And for Joe Biden to do this just 2 weeks after the country unequivocally voted his Democratic Party and specifically his administration out, it's despicable. And as an 82-year-old on his way out, he clearly doesn't care and is willing to take the risk because he's only 6 weeks left to continue to tear our country apart. What's more is that he seems to be trying to do everything so that the incoming Trump administration can't execute the things that they were promised to the American people. So the people have said resoundingly they don't want this, and instead we're risking war with the world's largest nuclear power on the face of the earth. And it's not just Biden, it's the Speaker of the House, it's the leader of the Senate, it's the CIA, the State Department, it's the Pentagon. They've all made this decision. I bet that Russia's fully engaged and bunkered up, drawing up something. I mean, the ICBM test. They're playing with the end of the world. You know, they're putting us on a path where they could accelerate to a full-scale war with nukes, and that's no joke. And the media is downplaying all of this, just like your guest just before. And the speaker's mute on the subject. You know, but now you've got Russia, China, North Korea, and Iran all band together, and we're provoking them. And on top of that, you've got retired military general and MSNBC commentator Barry McCaffrey calling for the UK, US, France, and other NATO nations to launch a massive nuclear joint strike against Russia. So the question is, why is all these MFers so eager to start a nuclear war since Trump won the election? How come we're not making a serious effort to discuss peace? I think we all know why. So have a great weekend, guys.
Thanks for the call, David. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro, answer line and text line, I suppose.
Anything you want to talk about, Dan?
Open line Friday. No, go ahead.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. One thing, now that this is behind us, well, not behind us, but the charges have been dropped against Jussie Smollett. His attorney wants, I don't know if this sounds like he wants to reopen the investigation. He spoke yesterday. His name is Attorney Nunye Uche.
This was a vindictive persecution, not a prosecution. Let's not make any mistake about that. Jussie is back to where he was. He's presumed innocent. Even though this is over now and Jussie absolutely wants to move his life forward, I think people should start asking questions. How did this happen? Why should this even happen? What can we do to make sure this doesn't happen again? And what were the facts that we never bothered to look at? because everyone was distracted with public opinion.
What do you think, Dan? Should we dive back into this, relitigate this? Remember, Kamala Harris said he's the victim of modern day lynching.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I don't know. I can generate about as much interest in this as I can for Madigan's trial or Brooks' trial, and I think that's where most people are. Okay. You know, he committed a hoax. I mean, is that in any doubt? No. His lawyers, lawyering notwithstanding. I mean, give me a break. He entered into a plea agreement effectively. I mean, that's what the $10,000 and the 15 hours of community service was. That even in the argument most favorable to his client, that's what it was, a plea agreement.
Yep.
It's basically an admission of guilt.
And 8 hours of the 15 hours of community service, he was at Rainbow Push sleeping on the couch.
Yeah. John in Crown Point, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hi, Dan and Amy. Love your show. I love Amy more.
Okay.
Hey, Mitch Daniels. My wife did not like Mitch Daniels. She's a school teacher, and she did not get a raise for like 4 years, making like $40,000. It was terrible. Well, after Mitch left, she ended up getting the money back with the new governor, and she got her back pay and stuff. So it ended up being good after Mitch left. We had ditch Mitch.
Yeah, right. He was terrible. He turned the entire state around. He made it
guys left with a surplus.
He made it a magnet for people fleeing failed states, like most notably its neighbor to the west, Illinois. I mean, the teacher didn't get their salary increase. That's a state and local level too, by the way, even in Indiana. Okay. And what about your property taxes there, John, in Crown Point? And the property tax caps, 1% residential, 2%, I think 2% farmland, 3% commercial, hard caps to protect your home value. Did you think about that? Or you just think about like your entitled X percent union-backed step increases year over year? I mean, that call says a lot more about you and your family than it does Mitch Daniels. To the detriment of you, to the benefit of Mitch Daniels. You should move to Chicago if you like that philosophy so much. You really enjoy it here. Nitwit. Of course he likes Amy more. Eduardo in Tampa Bay, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Yeah, good morning, Dan and Amy. I think we should duct tape every Illinois politician to a museum that us expatriates like me can go visit. I think that's a good idea.
There you go. Or sell them for $6.2 million and use that to pay teachers more. You know, I want to be popular too. I love that. Oh, boy. Rich in Indian Head Park.
Hey, good morning, Dan. Good morning, Amy. The one question I keep asking, and I really don't get a good answer to it, why do these sanctuary cities keep protecting these rapists and murderers and these gangs and these these drug dealers? Why do they keep protecting them? All these illegals that come across our border, and they're not stopped. I don't understand it. Can somebody give me an answer, or is it only because they want people to these illegals to come so they could one day vote for Democrats?
There's your answer. Yeah. Thanks for the call, Rich.
And it doesn't matter if you're an American citizen. The census counts them as people, so you won't lose congressional seats.
We'll see about that.
Yeah.
Kevin in Ogden Dunes, Indiana.
The Prime Minister of Ireland wishes to make a plea for clemency of Michael Madigan, the great Irishman.
Yeah, he has a castle in Ireland, right?
He does have a castle in Ireland, indeed. The poor guy, he's misunderstood. He's been operating under a terrible curse. Perspicacia Prof, do you know about this curse?
No. Please tell me.
He has the curse of the double consonant in his name, the alliterative name, and the worst part of the poor guy has been operating on the double M. Marilyn Monroe had a very good life before she was Norma Jean Baker, everything's going great. As soon as they name her Marilyn Monroe, she has an affair with the president. He dumps her. She has an affair with perhaps the brother of the president. He dumps her. She has an affair and marries the greatest baseball player, and then he dumps her. And then the Jewish Shakespeare, Arthur Miller, and he dumps her. It's the double consonant curse that Michael Madigan has been operating under all these years, and now he's being persecuted.
Thank you, PM, I think. Ziff in Hyde Park.
Oh, hi, Ziff.
Dan, Amy was right this week on one point.
What's that?
Remember when he announced the Attorney General, the guy for the Attorney General?
Mm-hmm.
And Amy said that, do you think he is sacrificing him, that he's not going to make it? And you know what? She was right. The guy
wasn't. No, she wasn't. He wasn't
Well,
no, she wasn't. He wasn't
I don't
sacrificed.
think. I mean, he wasn't testing. Well, people think he was testing the system to see what Republicans are going to be loyal
Uh-huh.
to.
No.
But
nonsense.
I don't recall saying that. But I was repeating what other.
Well, no,
people
you
were
did say it, and you asked him, was he sacrificing this guy? You said it something like that, and Dan said no. He wouldn't use his political capital in this case. That's what was said.
No, right. And so what we found out is that this was the impetuous Trump. This was bad Trump, not running the traps, and those around him, for that matter, apparently not thinking through what was to come and what they should be prepared for and what they were going to do about what was obviously to come. So, sometimes I know there's this penchant for Rube Goldberg explanations to very simple things, but usually Occam's razor is applicable as it is here, I would suspect.
I think I understood something you said.
All right, very good, Ziff. Then
Ziff, we miss you. Call back more.
Then
often.
I've done all I can do here. Yes. All right, thank you, Ziff. Mac in the 219.
Wow.
Hey, I think we need a Rosetta Stone for the Prime Minister. I'm starting to lose a little brain power on that last phone call.
Yeah.
But anyway, hey, regarding teachers, real quick. Hey, if you're a teacher and you want to make more money, don't be a teacher. Most overrated job in America. Regarding Bitcoin, I'm still waiting for someone to explain to me what it is, where I find it, the value of it, and why it has value. Because when Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos with the silicone-heavy girlfriend decide they're going to start their own, it's going to be backed by Tesla or Amazon. And when people rotate out of Bitcoin, they're going to go, how did my Bitcoin go from 90 to 40 overnight? I still do not get it.
All right, Mac, thanks for the call. Mike in Beverly.
Yeah, I wanted to make a public service announcement that there was a high outbreak of STVs in the month of November.
STBs?
STBs? ST what?
STV, Sierra
STV.
Tango STVs, and that is the shy Trump voter.
Oh.
Oh, okay. I thought STDs. I'm like, oh, the
Okay.
clap going around again.
Thanks
All
for the
right.
call, Mike. STVs. Owen in Willowbrook.
Hi, Dan and Amy. Dan, I want to get your opinion. With Pam Bondi, I know they say they don't want to, weaponize the DOJ, but everything's cyclical. And what I'm afraid of, I think they should at least go after some of the low-hanging fruit, like Strzok, Page, Comey, because otherwise, if you don't make an example of them, it can return. I don't know what your thoughts on something like that are. I know they want to move the country forward, but I think you can do two things at once.
I
Get to
agree.
that dog.
Yeah, feed that dog, for goodness sakes, or take him out. We've talked about this. I mean, yes, I completely agree. I'm not going to signal out particular names, but I want somebody to investigate the investigators, and if have a credible basis to do so. Like, for example, a fair belief that perhaps some of them infringe upon Trump's civil rights, and that's the predicate to open an investigation, or the professional malfeasance as well documented in Inspector General's reports about various actors in the FBI. Anything that there's a legitimate basis to investigate and go where the facts lead, because there is no doubt that there are people that need to be held accountable. Otherwise, it will persist. They will not stop. When they have the next opportunity to come back and do this again, they will do it again and bigger. I do agree, generally speaking, that the approach here needs to be Machiavellian, which is you have to deliver such punishment to these bad actors for their bad actions that they won't even think about doing what they otherwise would be inclined to do. So, no, I want the hammer to be dropped, and I want it to be dropped hard. Legitimately, transparently, bring everybody along. I'm opening this investigation into Person X for these reasons. We're going to keep you apprised as we pursue this investigation to its conclusion, and do so with all alacrity. But there absolutely have to be people held accountable. They'll call it vengeance. We call it what it is, accountability, as long as it's done right. Ralph and Rantoul.
Hey, good morning, Dan and Amy. So when I was in college, I got a commercial driver's license to drive an old school bus that was stick shift. I went through the struggle because my route was Sunday mornings. I drove around the campus of Purdue West Lafayette and picked up girls at the sororities that wanted to go to church. It was a mostly empty bus, and the bad part was when they were getting on and like in between sororities, because there's fraternities along the road too, so occasionally they'd wave you down, they'd get on with their dresses on backwards. It was a little embarrassing, but
the Fannie Willis.
So all of that, yeah, exactly. All of that is to just lay the groundwork for my qualifications. I know how to drive a bus, so how do I get on Tom Homan's short list of driving some of these people out of our country that we're going to be rounding up? Because I think a steaming hot cup of coffee sitting in the front of the bus while I'm driving somebody back down to Guadalajara or wherever the heck I need to drive them, I think I would enjoy that. Probably more than I enjoy my university teaching job.
Volunteer bus drivers, we'll see if we can get some information from Tom Homan where you can sign up, Ralph, and we'll provide that. I did want to get to BLM Brandon Johnson because he's graded himself. He was asked to grade himself, how he's doing so far. And
how'd that go?
I was tickled by his answer, as I normally am. I mean, I think, for a guy who has to raise 3 black children and a black wife, he's not doing so bad.
On the west side of Chicago, Dan, don't forget that.
Here's his response to the inquiry.
You're just past the first trimester of your term of your term here as mayor. I'm wondering,
not too late to abort.
Everything's about a progress report on yourself. What areas for improvement would you put atop that list, and what grade would you give yourself at the moment?
Yeah, so for areas of improvement, I would say, here's what I hear. That there are people in this city that when they get a chance to meet me and hear me, you know what they say? We never knew that was happening. Literally, I was on WVON the other day ago. Perry Small, congratulations, Perry, on your retirement. Started with the Harold Washington administration and has been an incredible journalist. And another brother was there, Salim Muwakil, who is just an incredible thought partner and leader in this country, one of the most brilliant minds right here in Chicago.
Is he out of his
And I was talking to him about, John, we put 3,400 affordable homes within our first 18 months in office. And here's someone who was engaged. He said, I never heard that. We talked about we're the first administration since Mayor Harold Washington to not cut public health as it relates to behavioral health. First. He said, man, I didn't know that. So I think in terms of an area of improvement, people, for whatever reason, they're not hearing that homicides are down, shootings are down.
Oh, we're not.
And that investments are up. When I go to places, we talk about hiring young people clap. They're like, thank you. Right? When we talk about building affordable homes, which we've had, people clap, they say thank you. When we talk about behavior and mental health, they say thank you. We didn't know that. So that's an area that maybe perhaps we all can work together to make sure that people in Chicago actually know that we've had 2 credit upgrades. Violence is down, investments are up. Yeah. Right?
Great.
So I think in terms of the grade that I would give myself, look, I still think it's too early.
Oh boy.
It's always just a marketing problem. You know, it's not. There's no substantive problems. Everything, on the merits is going swimmingly. It's just a marketing problem. It's you just don't know all the great things I'm doing to improve your lives. It's very much consistent with the campaign you just experienced from the left, which is you don't know how well the economy is doing.
Right. It's the same lies.
By the way, I mean, just a point of order. I mean, I don't know. Doesn't matter really, but the bond rating that determines the city's borrowing cost stands a 1 in 2 chance of being lowered in the next 90 days because of Chicago's heavy reliance on one-time revenue and a politically charged standoff. Standard & Poor's reported this week. And by the way, Chicago is, it's a tick above junk. CPS is junk. The state of Illinois has the worst bond rating of any state in the country. But no, I know it's all going well. You just don't recognize the great things, and just not get enough airplay. This media just doesn't do a good enough job to promote all the good things that we're doing. It's that right wing media in Chicago and Springfield. Yeah, it's entertaining. At least he didn't blame Nixon. Scott and
right.
Sycamore.
Hey, morning, Dan and Amy. How are you doing?
Good.
Sorry it's loud. I'm driving a truck. So I just wanted to say something because I hear you and so many people say it all the time that teachers need to make more money. I'm just wondering how much more, because when the average teacher salary in the city of Chicago is over $108,000, how much is enough? I'm a former, I used to teach. I have a lot of friends who teach. They all do well. But even the lower end of the spectrum, the people I see teaching, they're making a regular person's yearly salary to teach and not even work the entire year.
Yeah, they're off 16 weeks. Enough? They are off 16 weeks a year.
Well, thanks for the call, Scott. I never said teachers need to make more money. I said the teacher salary is not. I'm not beating teachers up about making money or not making money. I'm beating the system up about what it produces for what we put into it, and that includes teachers, not limited to, but includes them. How much more do they need to make? Well, in CPS, according to Stacey Davis Gates, they need to be up to $151,000 for this contract, and then she'll let you know about the next one. It's the same old story. I'm not in anybody's pockets. Everybody tries to maximize their earnings. I get it. It's a system problem. And, they want to bait us into everybody. Oh, teachers are so underpaid and teachers need to make more money. And
All right, we have some technical issues with Dan's studio. Let's take more of your phone calls, 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. Let's go to Bob in Buffalo Grove. You're on Chicago's Morning Answer. Hi, Bob.
Hi, Amy. Hopefully we'll get Dan back online. Thank you for taking my call. I'm going to horn in on Frank from Arlington Heights history lesson. Let me remind you, your listeners, of today's anniversary. It was also a Friday 61 years ago. I was a junior in high school, changing classes at 1 o'clock when I heard of a shooting, then exiting the school for the end of my day. At 2 o'clock, I learned that the president was dead and shot and killed, assassinated. So that whole weekend, I was just glued to the TV to see what transpired. Now, let me fast forward to today. Will we see President Trump release some of those assassination documents that have been hidden from the public? I'm just curious, with all these conspiracy theories going on, can we resolve what took place 61 years ago?
Yeah, but he didn't release them the first time when he was in office, so I don't know why he would do now unless pushed by RFK Jr.
Well, that's one of the key things that, that surfaced with RFK, and it'd be interesting to see if RFK pushes him on it.
All right, thanks, Bob.
Have a great weekend.
Thank you. You too. Let's go to Jeff in Langhorne, Pennsylvania. Good morning, Jeff.
Hey, good morning, Amy. I meant to call you the last couple of weeks, but I was working during
open mic, but I just want to thank you and Dan for your show and helping to keep the faith during the election season, and how great Trump's victory was, and we'll be working on getting these criminal county commissioners out in Bucks County.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Bucks County, I don't know if you heard, but Diane Marsgalia, she is that wretched Bucks County commissioner who she ignored the court ruling, and she bragged about it, and she kept counting ballots that were invalid. And she tried to apologize, and I want you to listen to this apology.
I apologize, and I will continue to work hard for you and endeavor to not make such a mistake again. I will also clarify one more thing. When I inartfully spoke and used the word precedent when I was talking about provisional ballots, I was referring to the United States Supreme Court and the precedent that has been lost on many issues, including Roe versus Wade. If you would just bear with me for one more minute. Unfortunately,
Love that they boo her, and I love that Scott Pressler is going to be on the ground there to make sure that woman is replaced. Dan, are you back?
Yeah, a little technical difficulty here. I love that statement. It's fine to illegally count ballots if you're upset with the Supreme Court's decision in Dobbs. That makes sense, and that's about the quality of logic you get from the left these days.
Exactly. All right, let's go to Dan in Rogers Park. You're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hi, it's not the same Dan that's missing, but I wanted to. I agree with what he said about the topic of the DOJ. I just don't like the way he said it. What he should have said was, Trump is not weaponizing the DOJ. He's using the DOJ to do their job, to go after these criminals, instead of letting these criminals get away free. I'm fed up with it, that nothing ever happens to these people. That's not weaponizing. That's doing their job.
All right.
Sorry, I got a little excited.
That's basically what I said, but okay, sure.
All right. Sarah in Glenview, you're on Chicago's Morning
Hi.
Answer.
Pritzker keeps denying that Illinois is hemorrhaging population. We're leaving like rats from a burning ship. Isn't it interesting that Pritzker is so nervous about ICE removing illegals? I can connect the dots. Can you?
Oh, is she a little excited there, Dan?
She was, rightfully so.
Yeah. We had her on the Munchkin line, too. So
well, that was a rhetorical question, so that doesn't require an answer. Okay. You call the next shot.
Okay, let's go to, somebody near you. Well, sort of. Glenn in Orlando. You're on Chicago's Morning Answer. Hi, Glenn.
Good morning, everybody, and to all my friends and family in Illinois. Be on the lookout for House Bill 5164, which will make it very easy for people to change their names in Illinois and keep things secret. So I just hope that people in Illinois stand up to what they're doing here. That's why I left. So
you can hope. You can hope they do.
Yep. All right. Thanks, Glenn. Appreciate it. Kevin in Austin, Texas. You're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Thanks for taking my call. Dan, you were talking about Johnson. You were saying it's like a marketing problem. That's what it is. It's the same thing for the Illinois GOP. It's not a marketing problem. It's a structural problem. And the current structure of the GOP is not going to save Illinois. It's going to be customers that go to movable feast and people like that. So pro-Trump, this is one thing that can help the grassroots. Pro-Trump businesses can host local grassroots Republican clubs to identify local candidates and develop local candidates, and also identify the local rhinos. People like Rich from Indian Head Park, Tom from Blue Island, people that went to Freedom Fest, your listeners are the ones that can actually change that by having Republican clubs. The most successful Republican club in Texas is the McClellan County Women's Republican Club. You can go to their website and look at how they get organized. The woman who runs that is a former preschool or kindergarten teacher. It doesn't take it, which is probably good because you're just trying to keep everybody in line, or everybody working together, and that type of thing. So that's what's going to help. I'm not asking you to fund, candidates or anything like that, but perhaps you can do something like that as far as or encourage listeners. Have a local Republican club in Naperville, even in River Forest, where Tom Cronin is the current precinct chair in there. But that's what's going to happen. That's what's going to change Illinois. So,
thanks for the call, Kevin. I don't disagree.
Real quick, I just want to remind people that Rebel Diners, they're having another meeting today or a lunch at 11:30. Movable Feast. The address is 112 North Hale Street in Wheaton. So if you want to go, there's still openings.
I want to get to this story of interest, too. Podcaster Rosanna Pansino. She honored her dad by smoking him.
I'm going to smoke my dead dad. Before he passed, he told me and my mom what he would like us to do with his ashes. And at first my mom was a little bit hesitant because she thought this is kind of hippie, people are going to judge us. But as time's gone on, and it's been 5 years now, we just really think that it's the right time to do what Dad wanted and to honor him the way he wanted. So years ago, he told me and my mom that he would like us to take his ashes, mix it in with some soil, and grow a marijuana plant and smoke him. And I told you he was a rebel. And I actually have footage of us doing this together. Maybe one more for good measure.
Wow.
Dad's still packed with THC.
Smoke him if you got him, huh?
What an honor.
A very strange request, but yeah, she lived out his wishes.
Mm-hmm. Chuck and Delavan.
Hey, big shout out to Jana from Lindenhurst. She visits my girlfriend occasionally on the weekends where she works. Hey, thank you, David Kolsek, for mentioning my band. My band's name in high school, All These MNFers. And tomorrow night, you're not going to believe this, to wrap up my birthday month, a Lady Gaga tribute band at the Lake Lawn Quad. Me and my girlfriend were there last year. She's got backup singers that look like they're naked. The clothes they wear, it's like they're like totally naked. So it's really great. So if you can, get over there. There's still tickets available.
All right. Thanks for the call, Chuck. I don't know how to break it to Chuck about that Lady Gaga impersonator.
All right. Thanks so much, Justin Kosick, Quinn McCarthy. Have a wonderful weekend. It is 9 a.m. WIND Chicago.
She's a stellar choice. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. That's what Matt Gaetz says about Pam Bondi, President.